Christmas, you're not ready for a story for the exhausted heart. It's Christmas Eve, and you're not okay. Everyone else seems to be glowing with it. That particular December energy, that warmth, that excitement, that sense of magic that's supposed to descend this time of year and make everything feel special, meaningful, worth it. But you're just tired, so tired. And the gap between what you're supposed to feel and what you actually feel is vast, unbridgeable, a chasm that makes you feel even more alone than you already were. You're supposed to want this, the gathering, the celebration, the togetherness, the joy, the magic of Christmas morning, the warmth of family, the comfort of tradition. But you don't want it. Not really. It's not in the way you're supposed to. What you want is silence, space, permission to not participate in the performance of holiday cheer, when cheer is the last thing you feel. And that makes you feel broken, wrong, like something fundamental is missing in you that exists in everyone else. Because everyone else seems capable of this. Everyone else seems to slip into the holiday spirit naturally, easily, as if it's just there waiting for them. But for you, the holidays feel like work. It's like one more thing you have to get through. It's like one more performance you have to give when you're already exhausted from performing all year long. You look at the lights and you're supposed to see magic, but you just see electricity, just decoration. Just one more thing demanding your attention, your emotional energy, your participation in the collective agreement that this time is special. You hear the music and you're supposed to feel nostalgia, warmth, connection to something larger, but you just feel tired. Just feel the weight of expectation. Just feel the pressure to feel something you don't feel. You see the advertisements, the movies, the cultural narrative about what Christmas means and what it should feel like. And you know you're supposed to want that, supposed to be moved by it, supposed to feel your heart swell with the spirit of the season. But your heart doesn't swell. Your heart is just heavy. Heavy with the weight of another year. Heavy with everything you've carried. Heavy with the exhaustion of trying to be okay when you're not okay. And now Christmas is here. And Christmas doesn't care that you're not ready. Christmas doesn't wait for you to be in the right emotional state. Christmas comes whether you're prepared for it or not, whether you want it or not, whether you can handle it or not. The world expects you to rise to the occasion, expects you to find the energy somewhere, expects you to put on the smile, show up to the gatherings, participate in the rituals, feel the feelings, be present in the way that Christmas demands you be present, but you don't have it. You don't have the energy. You don't have the emotional bandwidth. You do unhave whatever it is that makes other people capable of this when you feel like you're drowning just trying to get through a regular day. And the worst part, it's the absolute worst part, is that you feel guilty about it. You feel like you're failing, like you're ungrateful, like you're missing something beautiful that everyone else can see, and you're too broken or too damaged or too depressed to access. You think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just enjoy this? Why can't I just be normal and feel what I'm supposed to feel? Why does everything have to be so hard? And that guilt compounds the exhaustion, makes it heavier, makes you feel even more alone, because not only are you struggling, but you're struggling with something that everyone else seems to handle effortlessly. Not only are you tired, but you're tired of something that's supposed to give you energy, supposed to fill you up, supposed to be the one time of year when everything feels okay. But it doesn't feel okay. It feels like pressure, like expectation, like one more thing you're failing at in a year that's been full of failures, full of just barely making it, full of surviving instead of living. The presents you're supposed to buy but haven't. The cards you're supposed to send but didn't. The decorations you're supposed to put up but couldn't find the energy for. The enthusiasm you're supposed to have but can't manufacture. The gratitude you're supposed to feel but feels hollow when you try to access it. All of it. All the ways Christmas reveals how much you're not okay, how much you're just going through the motions, how much you're faking it, how much the gap between who you're supposed to be and who you actually are has grown so wide you don't know how to bridge it anymore. and people notice. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they were so caught up in their own Christmas that they don't see you drowning in yours. Maybe your performance is good enough that they believe you're fine. Maybe they ask, "Are you okay?" And you say, "Yeah, just tired," and they accept it, because accepting it is easier than actually seeing you. Or maybe they do see you. Maybe they see that you're struggling, okay, and they try to help by telling you to get into the spirit, or try to enjoy it, or it's Christmas. You should be happy, as if happiness is a choice, as if you're not trying, as if you haven't been trying all year to feel something other than this bone-deep exhaustion, and their attempts to help just make it worse. Because now, you're not just tired, you're tired and failing at hiding it. Now, you're not just struggling, you're struggling and other people know it. Now, you're not just not okay, you're not okay, and it's visible, and that visibility feels like failure. So you try harder, you paste on a smile, you show up, you participate, you say the right things, you make the right faces, you perform Christmas, even though Christmas is the last thing you have energy for. Because what's the alternative? To be honest? To say, "I can't do this. I don't have it in me. I need this holiday to just pass without me having to participate," and not to admit that you're so tired that even celebration feels like burden. 2. Reveal that the gap between expectation and reality has become so vast that you don't even know how to pretend anymore. You can't say that. You can't be that honest, because honesty would make other people uncomfortable, would make them worry, would make them try to fix you, would make Christmas about your brokenness instead of about celebration. So you keep it inside, you carry it, you add it to everything else you're carrying, okay? And you move through this holiday like you've moved through everything else this year, exhausted, depleted, just trying to make it through without completely falling apart. But here's what no one tells you. It's what you need to hear. Here's the truth that might be the only gift you receive this Christmas. You're not broken. You're not failing. You're not wrong for feeling what you feel. You're just tired. Deeply, profoundly, soul-level tired. Tired people don't have energy for holidays. Tired people need rest, not celebration. Cared people need space, not gathering. Cared people need permission to not participate, not pressure to rise to the occasion. And this story is your permission. Permission to not be ready. Permission to not want it. Permission to be exactly as tired as you are without needing to hide it or fix it or perform your way through it. This is the Christmas you're not ready for, and that's okay. That's more than okay. That's honest. That's real. That's human. You don't have to be ready. You don't have to want it. You don't have to rise to the occasion. You can just be tired. You can just be here. You can just survive this holiday instead of celebrating it, okay? And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. You've been performing Christmas for years now. Maybe your whole life. It's playing the role. It's showing up as the version of yourself that can handle holidays, that can enjoy them, that can participate in the collective joy without drowning in private exhaustion. And maybe the performance used to be easier. Maybe there were years when you didn't have to fake it as much, when the joy was more real, when the energy was actually there instead of having to be manufactured from nothing. But this year, the performance is impossible. This year, you can feel yourself cracking under the weight of it. This year, every smile costs you. Every "I'm fine" depletes you. Every moment of pretending to be okay when you not okay takes something from you that you have to give, okay? And you're starting to realize you can't maintain this. You can't keep performing. You can't make it through this holiday pretending to be someone you're not. Feeling things you don't feel, participating in rituals that feel empty when you're this depleted. Something has to give. Something has to break. And maybe what needs to break is the performance itself. Maybe what needs to shatter is the expectation that you can just keep showing up, keep functioning, keep being the version of yourself that everyone expects, regardless of what it costs you. You're standing at a precipice. You can feel it, the edge of something. The moment before everything changes. The space between continuing to perform and finally admitting that you can't. And it's terrifying, 'cause if you stop performing, what happens? If you stop pretending to be okay, if you stop showing up as capable, if you stop maintaining the facade of someone who can handle Christmas, what then? Will people be disappointed? Will they be angry? Will they finally see how not Toki you actually are? Will the truth of your exhaustion, your depletion, your complete inability to participate in celebration, will that truth be too much? Will it make you a burden? Will it ruin Christmas for everyone else? These questions circle in your mind. These fears keep you trapped in the performance, even as the performance becomes unsustainable. These worries make you keep trying, even when trying is destroying you. But here's what's actually happening. Here's the truth underneath all the fear. Here's what you're starting to recognize. Even though it terrifies you, you've been sacrificing yourself to maintain other people's comfort. You've been performing to protect them from your reality. You've been pretending to be okay so they can enjoy their holiday without having to see your struggle. And that sacrifice has a cost. Cost you've been paying. A cost that's accumulated over years of performing, years of pretending, years of showing up as someone you're not, because being who you actually are feels too risky, too vulnerable, too likely to disappoint. But you can't pay that cost anymore. You don't have anything left to give. The well is dry. The reserves are empty. The energy you've been drawing on to maintain the performance, it's gone. It's been gone. You've been running on fumes, on credit, on borrowed energy that you can never pay back. And now, Christmas is here, and Christmas is demanding the performance again. And you're standing at the edge, realizing, I can't do this. I actually can't do this. Not because I'm weak, not because I'm not trying, but because I'm human. And humans have limits. I've exceeded mine. This is the moment. This is the precipice. This is where you decide. Do I keep performing until I completely break? Or do I stop? 2. I finally admit that I can't maintain this. Do I risk their disappointment, their discomfort, their reaction to my honesty? Do I choose my own survival over their comfort? And that choice feels impossible. Feels like choosing between two bad options. Keep performing and destroy yourself. Stop performing and risk everything. But maybe there's another way to see it. Maybe the choice isn't between two bad options. Maybe the choice is between continuing to live a lie or finally telling the truth. Between maintaining a facade that's killing you or being real, even though being real is terrifying. Maybe the performance ending isn't failure. Maybe it's freedom. Maybe admitting you can't do this isn't weakness. Maybe it's the bravest thing you've ever done. Maybe choosing yourself, your survival, your truth over their expectations. Maybe that's not selfish. Maybe that's necessary. You're at the edge. You're at the breaking point. You're at the moment when everything changes. And you can feel it in your body. Can feel the exhaustion that's beyond exhaustion. Can feel the depletion that's beyond depletion. Can feel that if you try to perform one more time, something fundamental in you will shatter. So maybe this is the Christmas when you don't perform. Maybe this is the holiday when you finally tell the truth. Maybe this is the year when you admit, I'm not okay. I can't do this. I need something different. Need rest. I need space. I need permission to not participate in the celebration when celebration is the last thing I am capable of. And maybe that admission will disappoint people. Maybe it will make them uncomfortable. Maybe it will change how they see you. Maybe it will ruin their Christmas in some way. But maybe, just maybe, your truth is more important than their comfort. Maybe your survival is more important than their expectations. Maybe being real is more important than maintaining a performance that's destroying you. You're at the edge. And you're starting to understand that the only way forward is to jump, to let the performance end, to risk the fall, to choose truth over facade, even though You have no idea what happens next. This is the performance you can't maintain. And maybe that's not tragedy. Maybe that's liberation. Maybe the end of performing is the beginning of actually living. Maybe admitting UKONT is the first step toward finding out what you actually can do when you read not wasting all your energy on pretending. The performance is ending. You can feel it ending, okay? And it's terrifying and necessary, and maybe, just maybe, exactly what needs to happen. Let it end. Let yourself be real. Let the truth of your exhaustion, your depletion, your inability to celebrate, let that truth be seen. Let the performance shatter, okay? Let yourself be exactly as not okay as you actually are. This is the moment. This is the edge. This is where everything changes. And you're standing here at the precipice, ready to jump, ready to let it all fall away, ready to be real, even if being real costs you everything. The performance you can't maintain is finally, mercifully ending. And what comes next? You don't know, but you're about to find out. You're surrounded by people, and you've never felt more alone. Family, friends, whoever shows up for Christmas in your life. They're talking, laughing, engaged in the ritual of togetherness that Christmas demands. And you're here too. Physically present, body in the room, but completely, utterly alone. 'Cause they can't see you. Not the real you. Not the exhausted, depleted, barely holding you together. You. They see the performed version. The version that's smiling. The version that's participating. The version that looks okay enough that they don't have to worry. But the real you, the you that's drowning, that's desperate for someone to see how not okay you are, that's silently screaming for help while maintaining a pleasant expression. The you is invisible, alone in a crowded room, isolated in the middle of togetherness. And this loneliness is different from being physically alone. This loneliness is worse, 'cause when you're physically alone, at least you're not pretending. At least you can be as not okay as you actually are without performing. At least your isolation matches your internal state. Okay, but this, being surrounded by people while feeling completely alone. Okay, being in the middle of celebration while dying inside. Okay, being physically present for connection while emotionally unreachable. This is a special kind of hell. This is loneliness amplified by proximity. This is isolation made worse by the presence of people who coo, unt or woe, unt or do, see you. You wonder, can they really not see it? Am I that good at performing? Or are they choosing not to see because seeing would be uncomfortable? Are they looking past my struggle because acknowledging it would ruin their Christmas? You watch them. They're fine. They're actually enjoying this. They're connecting with each other. Okay? They're having the experience that Christmas promises: warmth, togetherness, joy, belonging. And you're having a completely different experience. You're having the experience of watching them have an experience you can't access. Okay? And that gap between their reality and yours, between what they're experiencing and what you're experiencing, between how Christmas actually is for them and how it actually is for you. That gap makes you feel alien, makes you feel like you're from a different species. It makes you feel fundamentally, irreparably different from these people you're supposed to feel connected to. They belong here. You don't. They fit. You don't. They can do this. You can't. And that difference, that fundamental inability to access what seems to come naturally to everyone else, that's the loneliest feeling in the world. You try to bridge the gap. You try to connect. You participate in the conversation. You laugh at the jokes. You engage with the activities. You do everything you're supposed to do to create connection, but it's hollow. It's performance. It's you going through the motions while feeling nothing, being nothing, just trying to appear connected while feeling more alone than if you were in an empty room. And maybe someone notices. Maybe someone asks, "Are you okay?" And for a moment, a brief, desperate moment, you think about being honest. You think about saying, "No, I'm not okay. I'm drowning. I'm exhausted. I'm so lonely, I can barely breathe. I'm surrounded by all of you, and I've never felt more alone. But you don't say that. You say, yeah, just tired. And they accept it. They accept it because they want to accept it. Because your honesty would be uncomfortable. Because the truth of your isolation would intrude on their celebration. So they take your lie. They accept your performance. And you remain alone. And maybe that's worse than if they hadn't asked at all. Because the asking and the accepting of your lie confirms what you already suspected. They do, you'd really want to know. They don't really want to see. They want you to be okay because your okayness is convenient for them. Your performance allows them to enjoy their Christmas without being burdened by your reality. So you stay alone, surrounded, isolated in togetherness, invisible while being looked at, seen while being present. Alone in the worst possible way. Alone among people who think you re with them, but who have no idea where you actually are. This is the loneliness that no one sees. The loneliness of being performed at while performing. The loneliness of proximity without connection. The loneliness of being surrounded by people who are celebrating togetherness while you re-experiencing isolation. So profound it is making your chest tight, your breath shallow, your whole body ached with the effort of maintaining the facade. And Christmas makes it worse, because Christmas is supposed to be about connection, about togetherness, about not being alone. So when you feel alone at Christmas, when you feel isolated during the holiday that is supposed to cure isolation, it feels like double failure, like you're failing at the one time of year when everyone else succeeds. You look around the room. Everyone else seems capable of this. Everyone else seems to be having the experience they're supposed to be having. Everyone else belongs here. And you're just here, just present, performing, just alone. And you wonder, is it just me? Am I the only one feeling this? Or are others performing too? Are others alone while appearing connected? Are others drowning while smiling? Are others experiencing this same profound isolation while maintaining the facade of participation? You'll never know, because if they are, they're performing as well as you are. They're hiding it as carefully as you're hiding it. They're maintaining the facade as convincingly as you're maintaining it. And so, you're alone, all of you, together in your performed togetherness, while being alone in your actual experience. This is the loneliness that no one sees. The loneliness that exists in plain sight. The loneliness that Christmas is supposed to cure, but instead amplifies. The loneliness of being here, being surrounded, being present, while being completely, utterly, devastatingly alone, and no one sees it. They look right at you and don't see it. They interact with you and don't feel it, okay? They celebrate with you and don't recognize that you're not actually with them at all. You're alone, so alone. And the loneliness is eating you alive, and no one sees it. No one knows. No one understands that while they're celebrating connection, you're experiencing the deepest isolation you've ever felt. Alone, surrounded, invisible, unseen, here but not here. With them, but not with them. Alone in the way that only being surrounded by people can make you alone, okay? This is the loneliness that no one sees, okay? And it's killing you, slowly, quietly, in the middle of celebration. In the center of togetherness, alone. The Christmas, you're not ready for a story, for the exhausted heart. It's Christmas Eve, and you're not okay. Everyone else seems to be glowing with it. It's that particular December energy, that warmth, that excitement. It's that sense of magic that's supposed to descend this time of year and make everything feel special, meaningful, worth it. But you're just tired, so tired. And the gap between what you're supposed to feel and what you actually feel is vast, unbridgeable. A chasm that makes you feel even more alone than you already were. You're supposed to want this, the gathering, the celebration, the togetherness, the joy, the magic of Christmas morning, the warmth of family, the comfort of tradition. But you don't want it. Not really, not in the way you're supposed to. What you want is silence, space, permission to not participate in the performance of holiday cheer when cheer is the last thing you feel. So that makes you feel broken, wrong, like something fundamental is missing in you that exists in everyone else, because everyone else seems capable of this. Everyone else seems to slip into the holiday spirit naturally, easily, as if it's just there waiting for them. But for you, the holidays feel like work, like one more thing you have to get through, like one more performance you have to give when you're already exhausted from performing all year long. You look at the lights and you're supposed to see magic, but you just see electricity, just decoration. It's just one more thing demanding your attention, your emotional energy, your participation in the collective agreement that this time is special. You hear the music and you're supposed to feel nostalgia, warmth, connection to something larger, but you just feel tired. Just feel the weight of expectation. Just feel the pressure to feel something you don't feel. You see the advertisements, the movies, the cultural narrative about what Christmas means and what it should feel like. And you know you're supposed to want that, supposed to be moved by it, supposed to feel your heart swell with the spirit of the season. Okay, but your heart doesn't swell. Your heart is just heavy. Okay, heavy with the weight of another year, heavy with everything you've carried, heavy with the exhaustion of trying to be okay when you're not okay. And now Christmas is here, and Christmas doesn't care that you're not ready. Christmas doesn't wait for you to be in the right emotional state. Christmas comes whether you're prepared for it or not, whether you want it or not, whether you can handle it or not. The world expects you to rise to the occasion, expects you to find the energy somewhere, expects you to put on the smile, show up to the gatherings, participate in the rituals, feel the feelings, be present in the way that Christmas demands you be present, okay? But you don't have it. You don't have the energy, okay? You don't have the emotional bandwidth. You don't have whatever it is that makes other people capable of this when you feel like you're re-drowning just trying to get through a regular day. And the worst part? The absolute worst part is that you feel guilty about it. You feel like you're failing, like you're ungrateful, like you're missing something beautiful that everyone else can see, and you're too broken or too damaged or too depressed to access. You think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just enjoy this? Why can't I just be normal and feel what I'm supposed to feel? How does everything have to be so hard? And that guilt compounds the exhaustion, makes it heavier, makes you feel even more alone. Because not only are you struggling, but you're struggling with something that everyone else seems to handle effortlessly. Not only are you tired, but you're tired of something that's supposed to give you energy, supposed to fill you up, supposed to be the one time of year when everything feels okay, but it doesn't feel okay. It feels like pressure, it's like expectation, like one more thing you're failing at in a year that's been full of failures, full of just barely making it, full of surviving instead of living. The presents you're supposed to buy but haven't, the cards you're supposed to send but didn't, the decorations you're supposed to put up but couldn't find the energy for, the enthusiasm you're supposed to have but can't manufacture, the gratitude you're supposed to feel but feels hollow when you try to access it. All of it, all the ways Christmas reveals how much you're not okay, how much you're just going through the motions, how much you're faking it, how much the gap between who you're supposed to be and who you actually are has grown so wide you don't know how to bridge it anymore, and people notice. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they so caught up in their own Christmas that they do unsee you drowning in yours. Maybe your performance is good enough that they believe you're fine. Maybe they ask, are you okay? You say, yeah, just tired, and they accept it, because accepting it is easier than actually seeing you. Or maybe they do see you. Maybe they see that you're struggling. They try to help by telling you to get into the spirit, or try to enjoy it, or it's as Christmas. You should be happy, as if happiness is a choice, as if you're not trying, as if you haven't been trying all year to feel something other than this bone-deep exhaustion, and their attempts to help just make it worse. Because now, you're not just tired, you're tired and failing at hiding it. Now, you're not just struggling, you're struggling, and other people know it. Now, you're not just not okay, you're not okay, and it's visible, and that visibility feels like failure. So you try harder, you paste on a smile, you show up, you participate, you say the right things, you make the right faces, you perform Christmas, even though Christmas is the last thing you have energy for. Because what's the alternative? To be honest, to say, I can't do this, I don't have it in me, I need this holiday to just pass without me having to participate. To admit that you're so tired that even celebration feels like burden. To reveal that the gap between expectation and reality has become so vast that you don't even know how to pretend anymore. You can't say that. You can't be that honest, because honesty would make other people uncomfortable, would make them worry, would make them try to fix you, would make Christmas about your brokenness instead of about celebration. So you keep it inside, you carry it, you add it to everything else you're carrying, okay? And you move through this holiday like you've moved through everything else this year, exhausted, depleted, just trying to make it through without completely falling apart, okay? But here's what no one tells you. Here's what you need to hear. Here's the truth that might be the only gift you received this Christmas. You're not broken. You're not failing. You're not wrong for feeling what you feel. You're just tired. Deeply, profoundly, soul-level tired. Tired people don't have energy for holidays. Tired people need rest, not celebration. Tired people need space, not gathering. Tired people need permission to not participate, not pressure to rise to the occasion. And this story is your permission. Permission to not be ready. Permission to not want it. Permission to be exactly as tired as you are without needing to hide it or fix it or perform your way through it. This is the Christmas you're not ready for, and that's okay. That's more than okay. That's honest. That's real. That's human. You don't have to be ready. You don't have to want it. You don't have to rise to the occasion. You can just be tired. You can just be here. You can just survive this holiday instead of celebrating it, okay? And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. You've been performing Christmas for years now. Maybe your whole life. Playing the role. Showing up as the version of yourself that can handle holidays, that can enjoy them, that can participate in the collective joy without drowning in private exhaustion. And maybe the performance used to be easier. Maybe there were years when you didn't have to fake it as much, when the joy was more real, when the energy was actually there instead of having to be manufactured from nothing. But this year, the performance is impossible. This year, you can feel yourself cracking under the weight of it. This year, every smile costs you. Every I'm fine depletes you. Every moment of pretending to be okay when you not okay takes something from you that you do and have to give. And you're starting to realize you can't maintain this. You can't keep performing. Can't make it through this holiday pretending to be someone you're not. Feeling things you don't feel. Participating in rituals that feel empty when you're this depleted. Something has to give. Something has to break, okay? And maybe what needs to break is the performance itself. Maybe what needs to shatter is the expectation that you can just keep showing up. Keep functioning. Keep being the version of yourself that everyone expects, regardless of what it costs you. You're standing at a precipice. You can feel it, the edge of something. The moment before everything changes. The space between continuing to perform and finally admitting that you can't. And it's terrifying, 'cause if you stop performing, what happens? If you stop pretending to be okay, if you stop showing up as capable, if you stop maintaining the facade of someone who can handle Christmas, what then? Will people be disappointed? Will they be angry? Will they finally see how not Toki you actually are? Will the truth of your exhaustion, your depletion, your complete inability to participate in celebration, will that truth be too much? Will it make you a burden? Will it ruin Christmas for everyone else? These questions circle in your mind. These fears keep you trapped in the performance, even as the performance becomes unsustainable. Okay. These worries make you keep trying, even when trying is destroying you. But here's what's actually happening. Here's the truth underneath all the fear. Here's what you're starting to recognize, even though it terrifies you. You've been sacrificing yourself to maintain other people's comfort. You've been performing to protect them from your reality. You've been pretending to be okay so they can enjoy their holiday without having to see your struggle. And that sacrifice has a cost. Cost you've been paying. A cost that's accumulated over years of performing, years of pretending, years of showing up as someone you're not, because being who you actually are feels too risky, too vulnerable, too likely to disappoint. But you can't pay that cost anymore. You don't have anything left to give. The well is dry. The reserves are empty. You've been drawing on to maintain the performance. It's gone. It's been gone. You've been running on fumes, on credit, on borrowed energy that you can never pay back. And now Christmas is here. And Christmas is demanding the performance again. And you're standing at the edge, realizing, I can't do this. I actually can't do this. Not because I'm weak, not because I'm not trying, okay? But because I'm human, and humans have limits, a lemma, and I've exceeded mine. This is the moment. This is the precipice. This is where you decide, do I keep performing until I completely break? Or do I stop? Do I finally admit that I can't maintain this? Do I risk their disappointment, their discomfort, their reaction to my honesty? Do I choose my own survival over their comfort? And that choice feels impossible. It feels like choosing between two bad options. Keep performing and destroy yourself. Stop performing and risk everything. But maybe there's another way to see it. Maybe the choice isn't between two bad options. Maybe the choice is between continuing to live a lie or finally telling the truth. Between maintaining a facade that's killing you or being real, even though being real is terrifying. Maybe the performance ending isn't failure. Maybe it's freedom. Maybe admitting you can't do this isn't weakness. Maybe it's the bravest thing you've ever done. Maybe choosing yourself, your survival, your truth over their expectations. Maybe that's not selfish. Maybe that's necessary. You're at the edge. You're at the breaking point. You're at the moment when everything changes, and you can feel it in your body. You can feel the exhaustion that's beyond exhaustion. You can feel the depletion that's beyond depletion. You can feel that if you try to perform one more time, something fundamental in you will shatter. So maybe this is the Christmas when you don't perform. Maybe this is the holiday when you finally tell the truth. Maybe this is the year when you admit, I'm not okay. I can't do this. I need something different. I need rest. I need space. I need permission to not participate in the celebration when celebration is the last thing I am capable of. And maybe that admission will disappoint people. Maybe it will make them uncomfortable. Maybe it will change how they see you. Maybe it will ruin their Christmas in some way, okay? But maybe, just maybe, your truth is more important than their comfort, okay? Maybe your survival is more important than their expectations. Maybe being real is more important than maintaining a performance that's destroying you. You're at the edge, okay? And you're starting to understand that the only way forward is to jump. To let the performance end. To risk the fall. To choose truth over facade, even though you have no idea what happens next. Tease. This is the performance you can't maintain. And maybe that's not tragedy. Maybe that's liberation. Maybe the end of performing is the beginning of actually living. Maybe admitting UKONT is the first step toward finding out what you actually can do when you're not wasting all your energy on pretending. The performance is ending. You can feel it ending, okay? And it's terrifying and necessary, and maybe, just maybe, exactly what needs to happen. Let it end. Let yourself be real. Let the truth of your exhaustion your depletion, your inability to celebrate. Let that truth be seen. Let the performance shatter. Okay? Let yourself be exactly as not okay as you actually are. This is the moment. This is the edge. This is where everything changes. Okay? And you're standing here at the precipice, ready to jump. Ready to let it all fall away. Ready to be real, even if being real costs you everything. The performance you can't maintain is finally, mercifully ending. And what comes next? You don't know, but you're about to find out. You're surrounded by people, and you've never felt more alone. They're all here, family, friends, whoever shows up for Christmas in your life. They're talking, laughing, engaged in the ritual of togetherness that Christmas demands. And you're here too, physically present, potty in the room, but completely, utterly alone, because they can't see you. Not the real you. Not the exhausted, depleted, barely holding it together you. They see the performed version, the version that's smiling, the version that's participating, the version that looks okay enough that they don't have to worry, okay? But the real you, the you that's drowning, that's desperate for someone to see how not token you are, that's silently screaming for help while maintaining a pleasant expression that you is invisible, lone in a crowded room, isolated in the middle of togetherness. And this loneliness is different from being physically alone. This loneliness is worse, because when you're physically alone, at least you're not pretending. At least you can be as not okay as you actually are without performing. At least your isolation matches your internal state. Okay, but this, being surrounded by people while feeling completely alone. Okay, being in the middle of celebration while dying inside. Okay, being physically present for connection while emotionally unreachable. This is a special kind of hell. This is loneliness amplified by proximity. This is isolation made worse by the presence of people who unt or woe, unt or do see you. You wonder, can they really not see it? Am I that good at performing? Or are they choosing not to see because seeing would be uncomfortable? Are they looking past my struggle because acknowledging it would ruin their Christmas? You watch them, they're fine. They're actually enjoying this. They're connecting with each other. They're having the experience that Christmas promises. Warmth, togetherness, joy, belonging. You're having a completely different experience. You're having the experience of watching them have an experience you can't access. In that gap between their reality and yours, between what they're experiencing and what you're experiencing, between how Christmas actually is for them and how it actually is for you. That gap makes you feel alien, makes you feel like you're from a different species, makes you feel fundamentally, irreparably different from these people you're supposed to feel connected to. They belong here. You don't. They fit. You don't. They can do this. You can't. And that difference, that fundamental inability to access what seems to come naturally to everyone else, that's the loneliest feeling in the world. You try to bridge the gap. You try to connect. You participate in the conversation. You laugh at the jokes. You engage with the activities. You do everything you're supposed to do to create connection, but it's hollow. It's performance. It's you going through the motions while feeling nothing, being nothing, just trying to appear connected while feeling more alone than if you were in an empty room. And maybe someone notices. Maybe someone asks, "Are you okay?" And for a moment, a brief, desperate moment, you think about being honest. You think about saying, "No, I'm not okay. I'm drowning. I'm exhausted. I'm so lonely, I can barely breathe. I'm surrounded by all of you, and I've never felt more alone." But you don't say that. You say, "Yeah, just tired." And they accept it. They accept it because they want to accept it, because your honesty would be uncomfortable, because the truth of your isolation would intrude on their celebration. So they take your lie. They accept your performance, and you remain alone. And maybe that's worse than if they hadn't asked at all. Because the asking and the accepting of your lie confirms what you already suspected. They do, you'd really want to know. They don't really want to see. They want you to be okay because your okayness is convenient for them. Your performance allows them to enjoy their Christmas without being burdened by your reality. So you stay alone, surrounded, isolated in togetherness, invisible while being looked at, seen while being present, alone in the worst possible way, alone among people who think you re with them but who have no idea where you actually are. This is the loneliness that no one sees, the loneliness of being performed at while performing, the loneliness of proximity without connection, the loneliness of being surrounded by people who are celebrating togetherness while you re-experiencing isolation. So profound it is making your chest tight, your breath shallow, your whole body ached with the effort of maintaining the facade. And Christmas makes it worse, because Christmas is supposed to be about connection, about togetherness, about not being alone. So when you feel alone at Christmas, when you feel isolated during the holiday that is supposed to cure isolation, it feels like double failure, like you're failing at the one time of year when everyone else succeeds. You look around the room, everyone else seems capable of this. Everyone else seems to be having the experience they're supposed to be having. Everyone else belongs here. And you're just here, just present, performing, just alone. And you wonder, is it just me? Am I the only one feeling this? Or are others performing too? Are others alone while appearing connected? Are others drowning while smiling? Are others experiencing this same profound isolation while maintaining the facade of participation? You'll never know, because if they are, they're performing as well as you are. They're hiding it as carefully as you're hiding it. They're maintaining the facade as convincingly as you're maintaining it. And so, you're alone, all of you, together in your performed togetherness, while being alone in your actual experience. This is the loneliness that no one sees. The loneliness that exists in plain sight. The loneliness that Christmas is supposed to cure, but instead amplifies. The loneliness of being here, being surrounded, being present, while being completely, utterly, devastatingly alone, and no one sees it. They look right at you and don't see it. They interact with you and don't feel it, okay? They celebrate with you and don't recognize that you're not actually with them at all. You're alone, so alone. And the loneliness is eating you alive, and no one sees it. No one knows. No one understands that while they're celebrating connection, you're experiencing the deepest isolation you've ever felt. Alone, surrounded, invisible, unseen, here but not here, with them but not with them. Alone in the way that only being surrounded by people can make you alone. This is the loneliness that no one sees, and it's killing you. Slowly, quietly, in the middle of celebration, quaint, on the center of togetherness. Alone, Christmas has a way of pulling the past into the present. Quaint, whether you want it to or not. Quaint, whether you're ready for it or not. Christmas brings back every Christmas before this one. Every version of yourself you've been. Every person who's no longer here. Every way things used to be that they'll never be again. And you're not ready for it. You're not ready for the flood of memories that come with this time of year. You're not ready to remember who you were before life wore you down. You're not ready to remember the people you've lost. You're not ready to remember the Christmases when things were different, easier, when you still believed that magic was real. But Christmas doesn't care if you're ready. Christmas brings the memories anyway. They arrive uninvited, unwanted, undeniable. Memories that you've spent all year successfully not thinking about suddenly surface with brutal clarity because Christmas makes them impossible to avoid. You remember being small. You remember what Christmas felt like when you were a child. The anticipation, the wonder, the genuine, uncomplicated excitement. You remember believing in magic, believing in the specialness of this night, believing that something extraordinary was happening, something that made all the ordinary days worth getting through. And do you remember when that belief died? You don't remember the exact moment, maybe, but you remember the gradual realization that Christmas was just a day, that magic wasn't real, that the extraordinary feeling came from being young enough to believe in it. And once you stopped believing, once you saw it behind the curtain, that feeling was gone forever. You can't get it back. That's what hurts. You can't return to the innocent wonder of childhood Christmas. You can't unknow what you know. You can't unsee what you've seen. You're on this side of the curtain now, the side where Christmas is just a day that people have collectively agreed to treat as special, the side where you can see all the work, all the performance, all the effort required to create the illusion of magic. And knowing that, seeing that, makes you tired, makes you sad for the child you were who believed in something you can no longer access, makes you grieve for the innocence you've lost, the wonder you've outgrown, the capacity for unquestioning joy that died somewhere between childhood and now. You remember the people who used to be here at Christmas, the ones who are gone now. It's through death or distance or the slow dissolution of relationships that once seemed permanent. You remembered their faces, their voices, the way they used to be part of this day, the way Christmas used to include them, and now it doesn't and never will again. And their absence is loud, especially at Christmas, especially during the holiday that's supposed to be about togetherness. Their absence screams, their empty chair, their missing voice, the traditions that died with them, the ways Christmas used to be that can never be again because they're not here. You miss them. You miss them so much, it's physical. You miss them in a way that makes your chest hurt. You miss them especially now at Christmas, when their absence is amplified by the expectation of presence, by the cultural narrative that everyone should be together, that families should be whole, that no one should be missing. But someone is missing, maybe multiple someones, and their absence makes this Christmas different from the Christmases you remember, makes it smaller, sadder, less than it used to be. And you're supposed to be grateful for who's still here, supposed to focus on the present instead of dwelling on the past, supposed to make new memories instead of mourning old ones. Tamed. You can't just forget them, okay? You can't just move on as if their absence doesn't matter. You can't pretend that Christmas isn't fundamentally changed by the fact that they're not here to experience it with you. So you carry them. You carry the memory of them. You carry the grief of their absence. You carry the weight of all the Christmases they were here and all the Christmases they'll never be here again. You carry it quietly, because grief at Christmas makes people uncomfortable, because sadness during the holiday of joy feels inappropriate, because mourning during celebration feels like bringing darkness into light. But the darkness is there anyway. The grief is there anyway. The memories are there anyway. In Christmas, with all its insistence on joy and togetherness and gratitude, doesn't make space for that. Doesn't allow room for the complicated reality of missing people during the holiday that is supposed to be about having people. You remember yourself, earlier versions of yourself, the you from 5 Christmases ago, 10, 20. You remember who you used to be, what you used to hope for, what you used to believe about your life and where it was going and who you'd be by now. And the gap between that younger self's expectations and your current reality is painful, painfully wide, painfully obvious. You're not where you thought you'd be. You're not who you thought you'd become. The life you imagined hasn't materialized. The dreams you had have either died or morphed into something so different from the original vision that they're unrecognizable. And Christmas forces you to confront that gap, forces you to see the distance between expectation and reality, forces you to acknowledge all the ways your life hasn't gone according to plan, all the ways you've disappointed the younger version of yourself who had such hopes, such dreams, such certainty about how things would turn out. That younger you wouldn't recognize you now, wouldn't understand how you ended up here in this life, feeling this way, wouldn't comprehend the exhaustion, the disillusionment, the bone-deep tiredness that has nothing to do with physical fatigue and everything to do with the accumulated weight of years of life not being what you thought it would be. And you miss that younger self. You miss their optimism, their energy, their hope, their belief that things would work out, that effort mattered, that trying hard enough would be enough. You miss the innocence of not yet knowing how hard things would be, how much life would take from you, how thoroughly reality would deviate from expectation. You can't go back to being them. You know too much now. You've lived too much now. You've lost too much now. You're fundamentally changed by everything that's happened between then and now. You're not the person you used to be. You're not even sure you like the person you've become. And Christmas makes you face that, makes you remember who you were and see who you are and feel the distance between them. Makes you grieve for the dreams that died, for the innocence that was lost, for the younger self who didn't yet know how heavy life would become. The memories come whether you want them or not. Christmas pulls them out of storage, dusts them off, forces you to look at them, forces you to feel them, forces you to acknowledge all the ways things have changed, all the people you've lost, all the versions of yourself that no longer exist, and you're not ready. You've never been ready. You'll never be ready for the weight of memory that Christmas brings, for the grief it resurrects, for the loss it makes you face, for the painful clarity it brings about how far you are from where you thought you'd be. But the memories come anyway. The key, and you have to carry them, have to feel them, have to make space for them, even though making space for grief at Christmas feels wrong, inappropriate, like failing at the holiday that everyone else seems to succeed at. You remember, you miss, you grieve, and Christmas doesn't care. Christmas comes with all its demands for joy while you're drowning in memory, while you're heavy with loss, while you're aching with the weight of everything that used to be and can never be again. The memories that Christmas forces you to remember, they're here, whether you're ready or not, whether you want them or not, they're here. And you have to carry them through this holiday, through this night, through this Christmas that's so different from all the Christmases you remember, miss, grieve, carry. That's all you can do. Remember them, miss them, grieve them, carry them through this Christmas, through this night, through this weight. They're here. It's the memories, heavy, real, unavoidable. Here, everyone keeps telling you to be grateful. It's Christmas. Count your blessings. Focus on what you have instead of what you don't have. Be thankful. Appreciate this moment, this day, this life. Be grateful. And you try? God, you try. You know you're supposed to feel grateful. You know intellectually that you have things to be grateful for. You can list them if someone asks. You can recite the things you should be thankful for, like you're reading from a script, but you don't feel it. You can't feel it. The gratitude everyone keeps insisting you should have. It's not there. Not really. Not in any genuine way. You can perform gratitude. You can say the words. You can thank people. You can go through the motions of thankfulness. But inside, there's just emptiness. Or worse than emptiness. Inside, there's resentment. It's resentment that you're supposed to be grateful when you feel anything but grateful. It's resentment that your inability to feel thankfulness is treated as a character flaw, a choice, something you're doing wrong. They don't understand. They can't understand. They think gratitude is just a decision, just a shift in perspective. It's a matter of choosing to focus on the positive instead of the negative. They think if you're not grateful, it's because you're not trying hard enough, not looking at things the right way, not appreciating what you have. But it's not that simple. It's never that simple. You're not ungrateful by choice. Not refusing to be thankful out of stubbornness or negativity or some perverse desire to be miserable. You're just empty, depleted, so exhausted that even the good things in your life could impenetrate the fog of fatigue that surrounds everything. You look at what you have and you know you should feel something about it. You know these things are good. You know you're lucky in ways other people aren't. You know there are people who would trade places with you in a heartbeat. You know all of this intellectually, but knowing doesn't make you feel it. Knowing doesn't create gratitude where exhaustion has hollowed out your capacity to feel anything positive. Knowing doesn't bridge the gap between what you should feel and what you actually feel. And Christmas amplifies this. Christmas is the season of gratitude, the time when everyone is supposed to reflect on their blessings and feel thankful and express appreciation. Christmas is when gratitude is not just encouraged, but expected, required, even. You're supposed to be grateful at Christmas. That's part of the deal. But you're not. You can't be. And that failure, that inability to feel what you were supposed to feel, adds another layer of guilt to everything else you were already carrying. Not only are you exhausted and depleted and barely surviving, but you're also failing at gratitude. Failing at the one thing everyone keeps telling you would make everything better. Just be grateful, they say. Count your blessings, they say. Focus on the positive, they say. As if it's that easy. As if gratitude is just a switch you can flip. As if you haven't been trying. As if you haven't been desperately wishing you could feel the thankfulness that seems to come so naturally to everyone else. But you can't manufacture feelings that aren't there. You can't force yourself to be grateful when all you feel is tired. You can't pretend your way into genuine thankfulness. You can only go through the motions and hope no one notices that your gratitude is performance, not reality. And maybe that's the worst part, is that you're performing gratitude on top of everything else you're already performing. It's that even your thankfulness is fake. That even the moments when you're supposed to be genuine, expressing appreciation, acknowledging blessings, being grateful, even those moments are just another performance in a holiday that's already requiring more performance than you have energy to give. You say thank you and mean nothing. You express appreciation and feel hollow. You acknowledge your blessings and feel resentful that you were supposed to be grateful for a life that feels so heavy, so exhausting, so far from what you hoped it would be. And the guilt of that resentment is crushing, because you know you're supposed to be grateful. You know you have things other people don't have. You know you're privileged in ways that many aren't. You know that your struggles do negate the fact that you have food and shelter and people who care about you and all the basic things that constitute a life that should inspire gratitude. But gratitude doesn't work that way. Gratitude isn't just an intellectual recognition of good circumstances. Gratitude is a feeling, an emotion, something that arises naturally when you have the emotional capacity to feel it. And when you're this depleted, this exhausted, this empty, you don't have that capacity. The well is dry. The reservoir is empty. There's nothing left to draw from. So you pretend. You perform. You say the grateful things. You express the thankful sentiments. You participate in the ritual of Christmas gratitude while feeling nothing. Being nothing. Just trying to make it through without anyone noticing how hollow your thankfulness actually is. And it makes you feel even more alone, because everyone else seems capable of gratitude. Everyone else seems able to feel thankful, even when life is hard. Everyone else seems to have access to this emotion that you and access, no matter how hard you try. What's wrong with you? Why can't you just be grateful? Can't you just appreciate what you have? Why can't you just feel the thankfulness that everyone keeps insisting you should feel? But nothing's wrong with you. That's what you need to understand. That's what no one's telling you. You're not broken for being unable to feel grateful when you're this exhausted. You're not failing for not being thankful when you're this depleted. You're just human. How? And humans who are running on empty don't have capacity for gratitude. They have capacity for survival, and that's all. That's enough. That's everything. Gratitude isn't a moral obligation. Gratitude isn't something you owe anyone. Gratitude isn't a requirement for being a good person or deserving kindness or having value. Gratitude is just an emotion, one emotion among many. And when you're too tired to feel it, that's okay. That's human. That's allowed. You don't have to be grateful. Not right now. Not when you're this tired. not when survival is taking everything you have. You don't have to force feelings that aren't there. You don't have to perform thankfulness. You don't have to pretend. Can just be here, tired, empty, ungrateful. And that's okay. That's more than okay. It's honest. That's real. It's human. The gratitude you can't feel isn't failure. It's just truth. The truth of being too exhausted for emotions that require energy you don't have. The truth of being too depleted for feelings that require capacity you're lacking. Okay. The truth of being human in a world that expects you to be grateful even when gratitude is impossible. You don't have to be grateful. Not tonight. Not this Christmas. Not until you have the energy for it. And that might not be for a while. And that's okay. Okay? The gratitude you can't feel isn't wrong. It's just absent. Okay? And absence isn't failure. Okay? Absence is just absence. Space where something might be someday when you're less tired, less empty, less depleted. But not today. Not tonight. Not this Christmas. This Christmas, you don't have to be grateful. You just have to be here. And you are. And that's enough. They're happy all around you. They're actually happy. They're laughing. They're celebrating. They're experiencing the joy that Christmas promises. And their joy is heavy. Heavier than you expected. Heavier than it should be. Because their joy reminds you of everything you're not feeling. Their lightness makes your heaviness more obvious. Their ability to celebrate makes your inability to celebrate feel like failure. Their happiness exists in sharp contrast to your exhaustion, and that contrast makes both states feel more extreme. You watch them and you think, why can't I be like that? Why can't I access what they're accessing? Why can't I feel what they're feeling? What's wrong with me that everyone else can do this and I can't? Their joy feels like an accusation, okay? Like evidence of your brokenness. It's like proof that the problem isn't Christmas, isn't the holiday, isn't the expectations. The problem is you. Everyone else can handle this. Everyone else can enjoy this. Everyone else can participate in the collective celebration without drowning. So it must be you. You must be the problem. You must be the broken one. You must be fundamentally different in some way that makes you incapable of what everyone else does naturally, easily, without the struggle that consumes you. And their joy requires something from you, requires you to match it, requires you to reflect it back to them, requires you to participate in their happiness instead of bringing it down with your heaviness. You feel the pressure of their joy, the expectation that you'll rise to meet it, that you'll be happy because they're happy, that you'll celebrate because they're celebrating. But you can't. You don't have it. You don't have the energy to match their lightness. You don't have the capacity to reflect their joy. You don't have whatever it is that would allow you to participate in their happiness instead of just witnessing it from the outside. So you fake it. You smile when they smile. You laugh when they laugh. You perform joy to match their joy, even though inside you're empty, exhausted, just trying to make it through without your darkness contaminating their light. And that performance is exhausting. It's more exhausting than anything else. 'Cause now you're not just managing your own exhaustion, you're also managing their joy, protecting them from your reality, shielding them from the truth of how not-toke you are so they can continue being okay without being burdened by your not-tokeness. You become responsible for their joy, for maintaining it, for not disrupting it, for ensuring that your struggle doesn't intrude on their celebration. And that responsibility is crushing, because it means you can never let down, never be real, never admit how heavy their lightness feels, never reveal that their joy is just making your darkness more obvious, more painful, more isolating. They laugh, and you feel it in your chest, a tightness, a heaviness, reminder that you're separate from them, that you're experiencing something completely different while occupying the same space, that you're alone in your exhaustion while they're together in their joy, and you can't tell them, can't say your happiness is making me feel worse. Can't admit your joy is heavy for me to carry. Can't reveal watching you celebrate is just reminding me how incapable I am of celebration. Because saying that would make you the problem, would make you the person who ruins Christmas, would make you the darkness that intrudes on their light. So you stay silent, you carry it, you let their joy exist without contaminating it with your heaviness. You protect them from knowing how much their happiness costs you. How much energy it takes to be around joy when you have no joy of your own. How exhausting it is to witness celebration when you're just trying to survive. Their joy becomes another thing you have to manage, another performance you have to give, another weight you have to carry. And the irony is cruel. Their happiness, which should make the world lighter, is making your world heavier. Their celebration, which should lift everyone, is just pressing you further down. You don't resent them. Not really. You don't want them to stop being happy. You don't want them to feel what you're feeling. You don't want to take their joy away. You just wish their joy didn't make your lack of joy so obvious. You just wish you could be happy for them without their happiness highlighting everything you're missing. You just wish their lightness didn't make your heaviness feel so unbearable. But it does. Their joy is heavy, and you have to carry it, have to be around it, have to witness it, have to protect it from your darkness, have to perform enough lightness of your own that they never know how heavy their happiness feels to someone who could want access happiness at all. This is the weight of everyone else's joy. It's real, it's heavy, it's exhausting, okay? And it's yours to carry, because telling them would ruin their Christmas, okay? Because admitting how hard their happiness is for you would make you the problem, okay? Because revealing that their celebration is just amplifying your isolation would burden them with something they could unfix and should unhave to carry. So you carry it alone. Their joy, your heaviness, the contrast between their experience and yours, the exhaustion of protecting them from your reality while managing your response to theirs, the weight of everyone else's joy pressing down on you while you try to stay upright, stay present, stay functional enough that no one notices how much their lightness is crushing you. Heavy, so heavy, their joy, your burden, the weight you carry so they can stay light. It's the darkness you hide so they can stay in the light. The truth you conceal so they can continue celebrating without knowing what their celebration costs someone who could uncelebrate. The weight of everyone else's joy, real, heavy, exhausting yours. Under all the noise of Christmas, the music, the conversation, the celebration, the constant demands for attention and participation, there is a silence you're desperately seeking, a quiet you need, a space where you don't have to perform or respond or be anything for anyone, and you can't find it. Christmas doesn't allow silence. Christmas is noise, constant noise, it's cheerful noise, celebratory noise. It's noise that demands you participate in it, respond to it, be part of it. It's noise that fills every space where silence might exist. The music is everywhere, in stores, in homes, on the radio. The same songs you've heard every year for your entire life. Songs about joy and peace and the magic of Christmas. Songs that used to mean something and now just mean noise. Just mean one more sound you have to process when you have no capacity left for processing anything. The conversations are endless. People talking, people asking questions, people expecting responses, people filling every quiet moment with words, with stories, with the verbal equivalent of Christmas decorations, unnecessary additions meant to make things more festive, but actually just making things more overwhelming. You need silence, actual silence. Not the absence of sound necessarily, but the absence of demands, the absence of expectations, the absence of noise that requires your attention, your energy, your participation. You need space where you can just be, where you don't have to respond, where you don't have to engage, where you do have to process incoming information and formulate appropriate responses, and maintain the performance of being present. But that space doesn't exist at Christmas. Christmas is the opposite of silence. Christmas is maximalism. It's constant input. It's unrelenting demands for attention. Christmas doesn't allow you to retreat into quiet. Christmas follows you into every space with its noise, its expectations, its insistence that you participate in the celebration, and the desperation for silence grows with every song you have to hear, grows with every conversation you have to participate in, grows with every moment of noise when what you need is quiet, grows until the need for silence becomes physical, becomes urgent, becomes the only thing you want more than you want anything else. You fantasize about it, about silence, about a room with no music, no conversation, no demands, about a space where you could just sit without anyone asking anything of you, without anything requiring your attention, without any noise you have to process or respond to or pretend to enjoy. You fantasize about escaping, about leaving the celebration, about finding somewhere, anywhere, that's quiet, that's still, it's not asking anything from you, about having permission to just disappear into silence without it being rude, without it hurting anyone, without it making you the problem. But you can't escape. You're trapped in the noise, trapped in the celebration, trapped in the constant demands of Christmas. And the silence you're desperately seeking feels impossible, feels unreachable. It feels like something you'll never get because Christmas doesn't allow for it, and you can't ask for it because asking for silence at Christmas makes you the person who doesn't want to celebrate, who doesn't want to be with people, who ruins everything by needing something different from what everyone else needs. So you stay in the noise, you endure it, you let it wash over you, while internally you're screaming for quiet, okay? While internally you're desperate for space, while internally you're dying for just a moment, just one moment of silence where you do anything, respond to anything. The silence you're desperately seeking. It's not about hating sound. It's not about being antisocial. It's not about not wanting to be with people. It's about needing rest, needing space, needing the absence of demands so your nervous system can finally calm down. Because noise is activation. Noise is stimulation. Noise requires processing. And when you're this exhausted, when you're this depleted, when you're this overwhelmed, noise is violence. It's gentle violence, maybe well-intentioned violence, but violence nonetheless. Every sound is one more thing your system has to process, one more input when you're already overloaded, one more demand when you have nothing left to give. And Christmas is unrelenting in its noise, doesn't give you breaks, doesn't allow you to retreat, doesn't create space for the silence you desperately need. Christmas demands you stay in the noise, stay engaged, stay present, stay participating in the constant celebration that feels to you like constant assault. You count the hours until it's over, until you can finally be alone, until you can finally have the silence you've been craving, until the celebration ends and the noise stops and you can retreat into the quiet that asks the only thing you actually want for Christmas. But the hours are long, the celebration is extended, the noise continues, and you stay in it, you endure it, you desperately seek the silence you have while performing presence in the noise you escape. The silence you're desperately seeking is waiting somewhere, eventually, when Christmas is over, when everyone goes home, when the music stops, when the expectations end, when you can finally be alone with the quiet you need more than you need anything else. Hold on. That's all you can do. Hold on until the noise ends. Hold on until the silence comes. Hold on until you can finally have the space your soul is desperately crying out for. Leave the silence you're desperately seeking. It's coming, eventually, soon, after this. After the noise, after the celebration, after Christmas. Hold on, the silence is coming. Hold on, your body is refusing. You can feel it, okay? Every cell is saying no. No to more celebration, okay? No to more participation. No to more pretending. No to everything Christmas is asking from you. Your shoulders are up near your ears. Your jaw is clenched so tight it aches. Your stomach is in knots. Your chest feels constricted, like you can't get a full breath. Your whole body is tense, braced, ready for threat, even though there is no threat here, except the constant demand to be present when you have nothing left to give. This isn't anxiety, or it is anxiety, but it's more than that. This is your body's emergency system activated. This is your nervous system screaming that you're not safe, that you need to get out, okay? That continuing to push through is dangerous, that you've exceeded your limits, and if you don't stop, if you don't listen, something fundamental will break. But you can't stop. You can't listen. You can't honor what your body is telling you, because honoring it would mean leaving, would mean admitting you can't handle Christmas, would mean disappointing everyone who expects you to be here, to be present, to be capable of celebration. So, you override it. You push through the physical distress. You ignore the signals your body is sending. You treat your body's no as inconvenient, as something to be managed, as weakness to be overcome, rather than wisdom to be honored. And your body gets louder. The tension increases. The breath gets shallower. The knot in your stomach tightens. Your body is escalating because you're not listening, because you're reforcing it to stay in a situation it's desperately trying to get you out of, because you're treating its protective mechanisms as problems instead of as the accurate assessment they actually are. You feel sick, actually physically sick, nauseous, dizzy, like you might pass out or throw up, or both. And part of you wonders if that would be a relief, if your body forcing you to leave through illness would be easier than choosing to leave, if having a physical excuse would be less shameful than admitting you just can't handle being here. But you don't get sick, not sick enough to leave. You just feel terrible, feel your body screaming at you, feel the physical manifestation of exhaustion that's beyond exhaustion, feel every system in your body saying, this is too much, this is unsafe, we need to stop. And you don't stop, you stay, you push through. Add physical suffering to emotional suffering. You force your body to remain in celebration when your body is begging for escape. You override every signal because stopping feels impossible. Leaving feels unacceptable. Admitting you've reached your limit feels like failure. Your body has been trying to tell you for weeks that you weren't ready for Christmas. It's been sending signals that you needed more rest, more space, more preparation before facing the demands of the holiday, okay? But you ignored those signals. You pushed through. You told yourself you'd be fine, you'd manage. You'd find the energy somewhere, but the energy wasn't there. And now you're here, and your body is furious, is screaming, is using every physical symptom it has available to communicate what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot do this. You do not have what this requires. You need to stop. But stopping isn't an option, so you stay in your body, even though your body doesn't want to be here. You remain in the celebration, even though every physical sensation is telling you to leave. You continue participating, even though participation is making you physically ill. This is what happens when you ignore your body's wisdom, when you treat physical boundaries as suggestions instead of as limits, when you believe that willpower can override biology, when you think you can just push through anything if you try hard enough. Your body knows better. Its body has always known better. Your body knew you weren't ready for Christmas, knew you didn't have the capacity for celebration, knew you needed rest, not festivity, knew you were already depleted before the holiday even began, and now your body is proving it. It's demonstrating through physical symptoms what you refused to acknowledge mentally. It's forcing you to feel the consequences of ignoring its warnings. It's making the internal crisis external through tension, nausea, constriction, all the physical manifestations of a system that's overwhelmed and shutting down. You can't keep doing this. That's what your body is telling you. You can't keep overriding its signals. You can't keep forcing it to function beyond its capacity. You can't keep treating its limits as obstacles instead of as the protective boundaries they are. But You don't know how to stop. Don't know how to leave. Okay? Don't know how to honor your bodies. No, when everyone else's expectations are demanding yes. Don't know how to choose your body's truth over social obligation, so you stay in distress, in physical crisis, the body that's screaming at you to listen, to stop, to leave, to rest. You stay because you don't know how to do anything else, because leaving feels impossible, because admitting your body's limits feels like admitting defeat, and your body continues screaming, continues trying to protect you, continues sending signals that you continue to ignore, continues suffering because you won't honor its wisdom, continues being forced to endure what it knows it cannot endure. The body that's saying no, your body saying no, desperately, urgently, physically, with every symptom it has, with every signal it can send, saying no, please, no, stop, leave, rest, please, no. And you're not listening, you're staying, you're pushing through, you're treating your body's emergency signals as inconvenience. You're forcing it to remain in crisis because honoring its truth feels too risky, too vulnerable, too likely to disappoint. But your body knows. Your body is right. Your body is trying to save you, and you're not letting it. Okay. You're choosing Christmas over your body, okay. Choosing performance over physical truth, choosing everyone else's expectations over your body's desperate plea for relief. The body that's saying no. Listen to it. Please, listen. Your body knows. Your body is wise. Your body is trying to protect you. Listen. Honor it. Let it have its no. Let it leave. Let it rest. Let it finally be heard. Your body is saying no, and no is the truth. And the truth deserves to be honored, even when honoring it is hard. Even when honoring it disappoints people. Even when honoring it means leaving Christmas. Your body is saying no. Listen. Please, listen. You remember last Christmas, okay? But the Christmas before that. And the Christmas 5 years ago, when things were different. When you were different. When Christmas felt different than it feels now. And the comparisons are automatic, involuntary. Your mind keeps measuring this Christmas against past Christmases, keeps noticing the differences, keeps cataloging all the ways this year is worse than before, all the ways you've declined, all the ways Christmas has diminished. Last year, you had more energy, not much more, but more. Last year, you could participate without feeling like you were dying. Last year, you could get through the celebrations without your body shutting down. Last year was hard, but it wasn't this hard. And the year before that, you were even better, even more capable, even more able to access something resembling joy, even more present, even more yourself instead of this exhausted shell that's just trying to survive the holiday. The comparison is cruel, is relentless. Your mind won't stop doing it, won't stop measuring current you against the past you, won't stop highlighting all the ways you've gotten worse instead of better, all the ways you've deteriorated instead of improved, all the ways Christmas keeps getting harder instead of easier. You thought it would get easier? That's the cruel joke. You thought as you got older, as you gained experience, if you learned how to manage the holidays, you thought it would become more manageable, less overwhelming, less exhausting, but it hasn't. It's gotten harder. Each year is harder than the last. Christmas requires more from you than you have to give. Each holiday season depletes you more thoroughly than the previous one. And you don't understand why. Why you're going backward instead of forward. Why you're getting worse at this instead of better. Why each year finds you with less capacity instead of more. Why the trajectory is downward when you've been trying so hard to make it upward. Maybe it's cumulative. Maybe the exhaustion has been building year after year, and you read just now hitting the point where you untied it anymore. Maybe you've been declining gradually all along, but the performance was good enough that no one noticed. Maybe this isn't sudden deterioration, but the inevitable consequence of years of pushing beyond your limits. Or maybe you're just getting worse. Maybe something is fundamentally breaking down in you. Maybe you're becoming less capable, less functional, less able to handle what normal people handle without issue. Maybe you're deteriorating in some essential way that will only continue, only worsen, only make each subsequent Christmas even harder than this one. That thought terrifies you. The thought that this isn't the bottom, that next year will be worse, that the trajectory will continue downward, that you'll keep declining until eventually you can't do Christmas at all, can't participate, can't show up, can't even pretend. You compare yourself to others, too. You can't help it. You look at them and they're fine. They're enjoying Christmas. They're capable of celebration. They're not drowning. They're not in crisis. Signed. Normal. Able to do what Christmas requires without it destroying them. And you wonder, what's wrong with me? Why can I not do what they do? Why does this cost me so much more than it costs them? Why am I so fundamentally incapable of something that seems to come naturally to everyone else? The comparison tells you you're broken, tells you you're failing, tells you you're worse than you used to be, and worse than everyone around you, tells you you're declining while others remain stable, tells you you're weak where others are strong. And maybe the comparison is accurate. Maybe you are worse than you used to be, okay? Maybe you are less capable than others. Maybe you are declining while they're maintaining. Maybe the comparison isn't cruel, it's just honest. It's showing you the truth of your deterioration. The comparison is killing you, even if it's accurate, even if it's true, even if you really are getting worse. The constant measurement against past versions of yourself and present versions of others is destroying what little capacity you have left, because every comparison is a judgment. Every measurement is an indictment. Every notice of difference becomes evidence of failure. You're worse than you were. You're worse than they are. You're failing at getting better. You're failing at being normal. You're failing at everything. And the failure feels permanent. Feels like this is just who you are now. The person who can't handle Christmas. It's a person who's getting worse instead of better. It's a person who's declining while everyone else maintains. It's a person who's broken in a way that only becomes more broken with time. You can't stop comparing. You've tried. You've tried to focus on the present without measuring it against the past. You've tried to be with yourself without comparing yourself to others. You've tried to just be here without the constant internal dialogue about how much worse here is than before. But the comparisons come anyway. Automatic, relentless. Your mind doing what minds do. Measuring, evaluating, judging, comparing. Your mind trying to make sense of your experience by relating it to other experiences. Your mind trying to understand your current state by measuring it against previous states. Okay? And every comparison confirms what you fear most. You're getting worse. You're declining. You're less capable with each passing year. You're on a downward trajectory that shows no signs of reversing. You becoming less and less able to function in the world, while the world continues expecting you to function. The comparisons that are killing you, they're everywhere. They're constant. Today, in every moment of noticing how hard this is compared to how hard it used to be. There in every glance at others who seem fine. There in every memory of past Christmases when you were more capable, more present, more yourself. And they're killing you, slowly, surely. These comparisons that tell you you're failing, that tell you you're broken, that tell you you're declining, to tell you you're worse than you were and worse than they are, and getting worse with time. The comparisons are killing you, and you don't know how to stop them. Don't know how to be here without measuring here against there. Don't know how to be you without comparing you to past you or to other people. The comparisons are killing you, and they're not stopping. And you're here being killed by them while trying to survive Christmas, while trying to function, while trying to be present, even though present is worse than past and worse than others, and getting worse every year. The comparisons killing you, slowly, constantly. Here, there's a grief in you that you can't explain, can't name, and point to a specific loss that would justify the depth of sadness you re-carrying through this Christmas. Like no one died. Not recently, anyway. Nothing catastrophic happened. Nothing you could point to and say, this is why I'm grieving. This is the loss that explains the weight. But the grief is there anyway. Heavy, real, undeniable grief that sits in your chest like a stone. Grief that makes every Christmas song sound like a funeral dirge. Grief that turns celebration into mourning, even though you can't say what you're mourning. So maybe your grieving time, the years that have passed, it's the life that's been lived without producing the things you thought it would produce. The time that's gone and can't come back. It's the younger versions of yourself who had hopes that haven't materialized. It's the future that looked different from the present you're actually inhabiting. Or maybe your grieving possibility. The things that could have been but aren't. The paths not taken. The versions of your life that exist in parallel universes, but not in this one. The dreams that died quietly without anyone noticing except you. It's the potential that remains forever. Potential because circumstances or choices or just life prevented it from becoming actual. Or maybe you're grieving innocence. The belief that life would work out. The trust that trying would be enough. The faith that things would get better. The hope that sustained you through difficult years and that, slowly and perceptibly, died without you noticing until suddenly you realized it was gone and you were here, in this life, without the hope that made this life bearable. Or maybe you're grieving yourself, the person you thought you'd become. The person you were before life wore you down. The person you might have been in different circumstances. The you that exists somewhere in your imagination, but not in reality. The you that you mourn even though they never actually existed. The grief has no name because the loss has no name. It's not death of a person. It's not loss of a relationship. It's not failure of a specific dream. Something more diffuse than that, more pervasive, more fundamental. It's the grief of living, of being alive long enough to accumulate losses that are too small to name individually, but too heavy, collectively, to ignore. Of existing in a world that requires too much and gives too little. Of being human in a reality that's harsher than you expected it to be. And Christmas amplifies this grief. Christmas, with all its promises of joy and magic and fulfillment. Christmas, with its insistence that this is a time of happiness. It's Christmas, which highlights the gap between what's promised and what's delivered. Christmas, which makes unnamed grief more obvious by insisting that grief shouldn't exist during this season of celebration. You can't tell anyone about this grief. How do you explain that you're mourning something you can't name? How do you justify sadness without a specific cause? How do you ask for comfort for a loss that isn't clear, isn't specific, isn't the kind of grief that people understand and know how to support? So you carry it alone. This unnamed grief, this sadness without source. This mourning for something or someone or some version of life that you unarticulate clearly enough for others to understand. And carrying it is exhausting. Carrying unnamed grief is harder than carrying named grief because, at least with named grief, there's recognition. There's validation. There's social support for grief that can. But for grief that can't be explained, there's nothing. It's just the weight of carrying alone. It's just the isolation of mourning something no one else sees. You feel it most acutely at Christmas. This grief, this unnamed sadness, this sense of loss that permeates everything, even though you can't say what's been lost. You feel it in the Christmas songs that used to mean something and now just sound empty. You feel it in the traditions that used to bring joy and now just bring weariness. You feel it in the faces of people celebrating around you while you re-mourning something you couldn't explain. The grief has no name, but it's real. It's heavy. It's here, with you, in you. Carried through this Christmas that insists on joy while you're drowning in sorrow you can't justify, can't explain, can't make other people understand. Maybe the grief is for all of it, for time and possibility and innocence and self. For everything you thought life would be that it isn't. For everything you thought you'd feel that you can't feel. For everything Christmas promises that Christmas doesn't deliver. For the gap between expectation and reality that seems to grow wider with each passing year. Maybe the grief is for the hope itself. For the fact that you used to hope and now you don't. For the fact that you used to believe things would get better and now you know they probably will. And for the fact that you used to have faith in something and now that faith is gone and what remains is just this unnamed grief, unexplained sadness. The weight of loss you can't articulate. You're grieving at Christmas while everyone else celebrates. You're mourning something while surrounded by people who are rejoicing. You reset in a way you could explain at a time when sadness is supposed to be absent. The grief that has no name. It's here. It's real. Even if you can't explain it. Even if you can't justify it. Even if no one understands it. It's here. And it's heavy. And it's real. And maybe that's enough. Maybe the grief doesn't need a name. Maybe the loss doesn't need to be specified. Maybe the sadness doesn't need to be explained. Maybe it's enough to just acknowledge, I'm grieving. Something. Everything. I don't know what, but I'm grieving. And the grief is real, even if it has no name. Be explained. It's grief that has no name. Real, heavy. Here, yours, carried through this Christmas. Mourned alone. Unnamed, but undeniable. Here, you're waiting for someone to notice. To see how not toky you are. To give you permission to stop performing. To leave. To admit you can't handle this. To tell you it's okay to not be okay at Christmas. To release you from the obligation of celebration. But no one's noticing. No one's seeing. One's giving you the permission you're desperately waiting for. And they never will. 'Cause they're not looking for your struggle. They're looking at your performance. And your performance is good enough that they believe it. They believe you're fine. They believe you're handling it. They believe you're here, present, capable of celebration. And you keep performing, keep maintaining the facade, keep waiting for someone to see through it and say, you don't have to do this. You don't have to be here. You don't have to celebrate when you're this exhausted. Can stop. You can leave. You can rest. I give you permission. But that permission isn't coming, okay, from them, from anyone external to you, because they don't see the need for it, because your performance is too convincing, because admitting they see your struggle would require them to do something about it, okay? And not seeing is easier, more convenient, less disruptive to their Christmas. So they look past your exhaustion, okay? They accept your I'm fine. They believe your smile. They take your presence as evidence of capability, and they continue expecting you to be here, to participate, to celebrate, because you haven't told them you can't, because you haven't asked for permission, because you've been waiting for them to offer it instead of claiming it yourself. And that's the trap. That's the cruel reality. That's what's keeping you stuck in performance, stuck in exhaustion, stuck in a celebration you can't handle. You're waiting for permission that will never come from outside. You're waiting for someone else to release you from obligations that only you can release yourself from. You're waiting for external validation of an internal truth that only you can validate. The permission you need can only come from you deciding that your exhaustion matters more than their expectations. From you choosing your truth over their comfort. From you saying, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. Giving myself permission to stop, but that feels impossible. Feels too risky. Feels like taking all the responsibility for disappointing them instead of having them share the responsibility by noticing your struggle and releasing you from obligation. Feels like making yourself the bad guy instead of being released by their compassion. So you wait, you keep performing, you keep hoping someone will see, will notice, will give you what you're desperately needing but can't give yourself, will say the words you need to hear. You don't have to do this. You're allowed to stop. You have permission to leave, to rest, to not be okay at Christmas. But they won't say it. They can't say it, because they don't know you need it, because you haven't told them, because you've been performing too well for them to see the truth underneath the performance. And even if someone did notice, even if someone did see, would they give you permission? Or would they try to help you push through? Would they encourage you to stay, to try, to not give up on Christmas? Would their noticing make things better or worse? Would their seeing you lead to permission or to more pressure to be okay? You don't know. And maybe that uncertainty is part of why you're waiting. It's part of why you're hoping they'll notice, but also hoping they won't. Part of why you read desperate for permission, but terrified of what might happen if someone actually sees how much you need it. So you're stuck, waiting for permission that's not coming, needing release from obligation that only you can provide, wanting someone else to make the decision so you do unhave to bear the responsibility, choosing yourself over their expectations. But the permission isn't coming. The release isn't happening. The external validation of your internal truth isn't going to materialize. You can wait. You can keep performing. You can keep hoping someone will see and will care enough to release you. But they won't. They can't, because they don't know. And they don't know because you haven't told them. And you haven't told them because telling them would require you to give yourself permission first, would require you to decide that your truth matters more than their comfort, would require you to choose yourself, even though choosing yourself feels selfish, inappropriate, like ruining Christmas. The permission you're waiting for will never come from outside. It can only come from inside, from you. It's from you deciding that you matter enough to honor your truth, from you choosing your survival over their expectations, from you giving yourself what you've been waiting for them to give you. You don't need their permission. You never needed their permission. You need your own permission, your own choice, your own decision that you matter more than performance, that your truth matters more than their comfort, that your survival matters more than their Christmas. Give yourself permission. That's the only way. That's the only solution. That's the only path forward. Stop waiting for someone else to notice, to see, to release you. Give yourself what you need. Permission to stop. Permission to leave. Permission to not be okay at Christmas. Permission to choose yourself. The permission you're waiting for that will never come from them. It's yours to give. Only yours. Always yours. Give it to yourself. Now, permission granted by you. For you, finally. And then something shifts. Something breaks. Something in you finally says, enough. Not loudly, not dramatically. It's just a quiet, internal knowing. I can't do this anymore, I don't have to do this anymore. I'm choosing myself. I'm leaving, And the decision, once made, is irreversible. Once you've given yourself permission, Once you've chosen your truth over their expectations. Once you've decided that survival matters more than performance, you can't undecide it. You can't go back to pretending. You can't return to the performance now that you've admitted to yourself how unsustainable it was. You're leaving. You're actually leaving. You're removing yourself from the celebration, from the noise, from the expectations, from everything Christmas has been demanding from you that you don't have to give. And it feels terrifying, and it feels necessary, and it feels like both failure and victory simultaneously. Failure because you couldn't handle what everyone else seems to handle. Victory because you're finally choosing yourself. You might make an excuse, might say you're not feeling well, might claim a headache or exhaustion or something that sounds reasonable, acceptable, something that makes your leaving about circumstances rather than choice, something that protects them from knowing the truth. You're not leaving because you're sick. You're leaving because staying is making you sick. You're leaving because you can't perform anymore. You're leaving because you're choosing survival over their comfort. Or you might not make an excuse. Might just say, I need to go. Can't be here. I'm sorry. Might leave the truth ambiguous Might let them wonder, might let them interpret you're leaving however they need to interpret it to make sense of it. Either way, you're leaving. You're actually doing it. You're removing your body from the celebration, from the noise, from the room full of people who needed you to be okay so they could enjoy their Christmas without being burdened by your not-okay-ness. And as you move toward the door, toward escape, toward the silence you've been desperately seeking, you feel it, all of it. The guilt, the shame, the sense that you're failing, the fear that you're disappointing everyone, the worry that they'll judge you, resent you, see you as weak or broken or incapable. But you keep moving because the alternative, staying, continuing to perform, pushing through until you completely break, that alternative is no longer acceptable. That alternative would destroy something in you that can't be destroyed. That alternative would cost more than disappointing them costs. So you keep moving toward the door, toward leaving, toward choosing yourself, even though choosing yourself feels selfish, inappropriate, like the worst possible thing you could do at Christmas. But you're doing it anyway. You're leaving anyway. You're choosing yourself anyway, 'cause you have to, because you can't not anymore, because something in you has finally recognized that survival requires this. That continuing would be self-destruction. That leaving is not weakness. Leaving is self-preservation. You reach the door, you're leaving, you're actually leaving. Okay, in the moment you cross the threshold, the moment you step outside, the moment you remove yourself from the celebration, something happens. The noise stops. Not literally, but internally. The constant internal noise, the pressure, the performance, the exhausting effort of maintaining the facade, it stops. The moment you're alone, the moment you're removed from the demands of celebration, you can finally breathe. And you do breathe, deeply, fully. The first real breath you've taken all day, all week, all season. The first breath that goes all the way down because you're not bracing anymore. You're not performing anymore. You're not forcing anymore. You're just here, outside, away, alone. And alone feels like relief, feels like salvation. Feels like the first moment of actual rest you've had in longer than you can remember. You did it. You actually did it. You left. You chose yourself. You gave yourself permission. You honored your truth, even though honoring it meant disappointing them. Okay, you survived Christmas by leaving Christmas, by admitting you couldn't handle it, okay, by choosing rest over performance. And the guilt is still there, okay? The shame is still there. The sense of failure is still there. Cool. But underneath all of that, there's something else. Something quieter. Something that feels like peace. You did the right thing. That's what that quiet voice is saying. You did what you needed to do. You chose survival. You honored your limits. You gave yourself what you needed instead of sacrificing yourself for everyone else's comfort. You're here, outside, away, breathing, and breathing feels like victory. Like the small, quiet, crucial victory of someone who finally chose themselves, who finally admitted they had limits, who finally honored their truth instead of living everyone else's lie. You left, and leaving saved you. Not dramatically, not obviously, but genuinely. Leaving saved you from continuing to deplete yourself, from continuing to perform beyond your capacity, from continuing to sacrifice yourself for a celebration that wasn't serving you. You left, and it was the bravest thing you've ever done. And you're here now, in the quiet, in the space, in the relief of finally being allowed to stop. You left, and you're okay. You're actually okay. Not okay in the sense of happy or joyful or celebratory, but okay in the sense of choosing yourself, of honoring your truth, of surviving by leaving instead of destroying yourself by staying. The moment you finally let yourself leave, this moment, okay, you did it. You left. You chose yourself. You survived. You're here, breathing, alone, at peace. Finally, And now, finally, you have it. The silence you've been desperately seeking. It's here, real, surrounding you, holding you. The absence of demands, the absence of noise, the absence of everything that was draining you. You're alone, actually alone, not isolated in a crowd, not invisible among people, but genuinely, physically alone. And alone feels like the first gift you've received all Christmas. Alone feels like relief so profound you could cry from it. The silence is not empty. That's what you're discovering. Silence is full of space, full of rest, full of the gentle presence of nothing requiring your attention, nothing demanding your response, nothing needing you to be anything other than exactly what you are in this moment. You can hear your own breath. That's all. Just breath. In and out. Steady.com. The sound of your body doing what bodies do when they're finally allowed to relax. When the emergency is over. When safety has been reached. And you're safe now. Not safe in the world, necessarily. But safe from the demands of Christmas. Safe from the performance. Safe from the constant pressure to be something you're not. Safe in this quiet space where no one is watching, no one is expecting, no one needs anything from you. The silence speaks to you. Not in words, but in the way it holds you. In the way it asks nothing. In the way it simply allows you to be here, breathing, existing, without any agenda, without any purpose, without any requirement, except to be present to the quiet. Your body is responding to the silence. You can feel it. The tension is starting to release. Not all at once, but gradually, incrementally. Your shoulders are dropping slightly. Your jaw is unclenching. Your breath is deepening. Your whole system is beginning to recognize the threat is over. The performance is done. We can rest now, and rest feels revolutionary. Rest feels like something you'd forgotten was possible. Rest feels like coming home after being lost for so long you'd stopped believing home existed. The silence is teaching you something. Teaching you that you needed this more than you needed celebration. Teaching you that quiet is more nourishing than festivity. Teaching you that being alone is sometimes exactly what connection to yourself requires. You're not missing anything. It's what you're realizing. You left Christmas and you're not missing it. You're not wishing you were back there. You're not regretting your choice. You're just here, in the silence, in the peace, in the profound relief of finally being allowed to stop. The silence is enough. More than enough. The silence is everything you needed. Everything you were seeking. Everything that Christmas was preventing you from accessing. The silence is the real gift, the real peace, the real rest. You sit in it, or lie in it, or just exist in it. The silence holding you, the quiet surrounding you, the absence of demands allowing you to finally just be. And being is enough. Being without doing it. Being without performing. Being without needing to be anything other than this. Present, quiet, breathing, here. The silence that finally arrives. It's here. You're here, okay? And here is exactly where you need to be. In the quiet, in the space, in the silence that's been waiting for you all along, okay? The silence that's been calling to you through all the noise of Christmas. The silence that's finally yours. Rest in it. Let it hold you. Let it heal you. Let it be the Christmas you actually needed. Not the Christmas anyone else wanted you to have, but your Christmas. Quiet, simple, honest, true. The silence that finally arrives. Here, now, yours. Peace. Your body is doing something it hasn't done in weeks, maybe months, maybe longer. Your body is relaxing. Actually, genuinely relaxing. Not the fake relaxation of trying to calm down while still being activated, but real relaxation. It's the kind that happens when your nervous system finally believes the danger is past. You can feel it happening, layer by layer, Tension releasing from places you didn't even know were tense. Muscles softening that had been hard for so long you'd forgotten they could be soft. Your whole system gradually, carefully, beginning to let go of the emergency readiness it's been maintaining. Your shoulders drop, not because you're forcing them down, but because they're finally allowed to. Because the hypervigilance is subsiding. Because your body is starting to trust that you're actually safe now, that you're not going back, that the performance is truly over. Your jaw unclenches. Okay, when it does, you realize how tightly you'd been holding it, how much effort it was taking to maintain that tension, how exhausting it was to hold your whole face in a shape that looked okay while feeling anything but okay. Your breath changes, gets deeper, fuller, goes all the way down into your belly instead of staying shallow and high in your chest. Your body is breathing like a body that's safe, like a body that's resting, like a body that's finally allowed to exhale. Your stomach unclenches. The knot that's been there loosens. The nausea fades. Your digestive system, which shuts down during stress, starts to function again. Your body is directing energy toward restoration instead of toward survival. You can feel your heartbeat slowing, not dangerously slow, just calmer, steadier. The rapid, anxious beating that's been your baseline is easing into something more rhythmic, more peaceful. Your heart is resting too. Your hands unclench. You didn't even realize they were fists, but they were. And now they're opening, palms up, receptive instead of defensive, soft instead of ready to fight or flee or freeze. Your hands are resting like hands that don't need to protect anymore. This is what safety feels like in the body. This gradual, gentle, undeniable release of tension, softening, this allowing, this trust that it's okay now, that you can stop being ready, that you can rest. Okay, and as your body relaxes, you start to realize just how much tension you've been carrying, just how activated you've been, just how much energy it was taking to maintain the state of emergency readiness that Christmas was requiring from you. No wonder you were exhausted. No wonder you couldn't handle it. No wonder your body was screaming at you to leave. Your body was doing the equivalent of running a marathon while pretending to sit still. Your body was in crisis while performing calm. Your body was fighting for survival while looking like celebration. And now it can stop. Now it can rest. Now it can do what bodies are supposed to do when they're safe. Relax, restore, heal, recover from the extended period of activation that was slowly destroying you. Your body is wise. That's what you're understanding now. Your body was right all along. Your body knew you needed to leave before you consciously knew it. Your body was trying to save you. And now that you've listened, now that you've honored its truth, now that you've given it what it needed, your body is thanking you through this profound, grateful relaxation. You might cry. The release of tension often brings tears. It's not sad tears necessarily, just released tears. It's tears that come when the body finally feels safe enough to let go of what it's been holding. When the emotions that couldn't be felt during crisis can finally be felt during safety. Let the tears come if they come. Let your body release in whatever way it needs to release. Let the relaxation happen in whatever form it takes. Your body has been waiting for this. Your body has been needing this. Your body deserves this. The body that finally relaxes. Your body finally safe, finally allowed to rest. Finally trusting that the emergency is over. It's finally letting go of the tension it's been carrying through this Christmas that was too much, too demanding, too overwhelming for your system to handle. Your body is relaxing. Feel it happening. Notice it unfolding. Witness the miracle of a nervous system that's shifting from activation to rest, from emergency to safety, from survival to restoration. Your body is relaxing. And in that relaxation, there's healing, there's recovery, there's the beginning of restoration after depletion. There's the possibility of actually resting instead of just surviving. Your body that finally relaxes. Here, now, safe, soft, releasing, resting. Finally, your body, finally relaxed, finally safe, finally allowed to be a body instead of a defense system. Finally resting, finally here. The guilt is still there. Of course it is. You left Christmas. You disappointed people. You couldn't handle what you're supposed to be able to handle. The guilt for all of that is present, real, sitting in your chest like a weight. But something is different now. The guilt is softer, less sharp, less accusatory, less certain that you did something wrong. The guilt is beginning to question itself. Did you really do something wrong? Or did you do something necessary? Did you fail? Or did you survive? Did you disappoint them? Or did you honor yourself? The guilt is used to being the loudest voice. The guilt is used to dominating your internal dialogue. The guilt is used to convincing you that choosing yourself is always selfish, always wrong, always something to feel bad about. But another voice is emerging now, quieter, gentler, more compassionate. This voice says, you did what you needed to do. This voice says, you chose survival. This voice says, that was brave, not weak, okay? That was honest, not selfish. That was necessary, not wrong. And slowly, gradually, the guilt is losing its grip. The guilt is being replaced by something else. Not pride exactly, not celebration, but acceptance, understanding, compassion for yourself, recognition that you made the best choice available to you, that you honored your truth, that you took care of yourself when no one else was going to. You're beginning to see that the guilt has been lying to you. Guilt always lies. Guilt tells you that other people's comfort is more important than your survival. Guilt tells you that their expectations matter more than your limits. Guilt tells you that disappointing them is worse than destroying yourself. But that's not true. That's never been true. Your survival matters. Your limits matter. Your truth matters, okay? And choosing to honor those things is not wrong. It's not selfish. It's not failure. It's self-preservation. It's wisdom. It's courage, okay? The guilt is dissolving because you're finally seeing it clearly. Seeing it as the voice of obligation, of should, of external expectations, internalized. Seeing it as something separate from truth. Seeing it as something that has been controlling you, but that does and actually have your best interests at heart. And as the guilt dissolves, space opens up. Space for other feelings, relief, peace, gratitude for your own choice. Compassion for the you that was struggling so much. It's tenderness for the you that finally found the courage to leave. You're starting to forgive yourself, not because you did something wrong that needs forgiving, but because you've been treating yourself as if you did something wrong. You've been judging yourself, criticizing yourself, holding yourself responsible for not being able to handle what was actually unhandleable. And that judgment is softening, that criticism is quieting, that responsibility is being reassessed. You're starting to see yourself with more compassion, with more understanding, with more recognition that you were in an impossible situation and you made the only choice that would preserve you. The guilt is dissolving, not gone completely, not erased, but dissolving, losing its power, losing its certainty, losing its ability to convince you that choosing yourself was wrong. And in this place, there's something gentler, something kinder, something that sounds less like guilt and more like self-compassion, something that says, you did okay. You did what you could. You made the choice that saved you, And that choice, even though it disappointed others, even though it broke expectations, even though it wasn't what anyone wanted, that choice was right for you in that moment. That choice was exactly what you needed to do. The guilt that begins to dissolve. Feel it softening. Feel it losing its grip. Feel it being replaced by something kinder, something more compassionate, something more true. You're allowed to forgive yourself. You're allowed to let the guilt go. You're allowed to see that what felt like failure was actually survival. What felt like selfishness was actually self-preservation. What felt like weakness was actually the courage to honor your truth. The guilt is dissolving. Let it go. Let it release. Let it be replaced by the understanding that you did what you needed to do, that you chose yourself, that choosing yourself is not wrong, that you're allowed to have limits, to honor boundaries, to prioritize survival over performance. The guilt that begins to dissolve, dissolving, softening, releasing, being replaced by compassion, by understanding, by the recognition that you did the brave thing, the necessary thing, the thing that saved you. Let the guilt dissolve. You don't need it anymore. You never needed it. It was just the voice of old programming, of external expectations internalized, of believing that your worth is conditional on meeting everyone else's needs while ignoring your own. But you're not that anymore. You're someone who chose themselves, someone who honored their truth, someone who survived by leaving, and that someone doesn't need guilt. That someone needs compassion, needs understanding, needs recognition that they did something hard and necessary and brave. The guilt is dissolving, and you're free. Freer than you've been in so long. Free from the obligation to sacrifice yourself. Free from the belief that choosing yourself is wrong. Quit. Free from the guilt that was keeping you trapped in performance. The guilt that begins to dissolve, dissolving, leaving, being replaced by peace, by self-compassion, by the freedom of finally choosing yourself, finally free. And now, in this quiet, in this space, in this safety, you're starting to understand something important, something that changes everything, something that makes all the guilt, all the fear, all the worry about having disappointed them worth it. You did the right thing. It's not just an okay thing, not just a survivable thing, but the right thing, it's the only thing, the thing that needed to happen. Staying would have broken you, not metaphorically, actually broken you. At least something essential in you would have shattered if you'd continued performing. Something fundamental would have been damaged beyond repair if you'd stayed in that celebration one more minute. You didn't leave because you're weak. You left because you're wise. You left because some part of you, deeper than conscious thought, deeper than guilt, deeper than fear, some part of you recognized that continuing was dangerous, that survival required departure, that honoring yourself required disappointing them, and that wisdom saved you. That choice saved you. It's that moment of finally choosing yourself saved you from something that would have destroyed you. You can feel it now, the rightness of your choice. Not because it was easy, not because it was comfortable, not because everyone understood or approved, but because it was true, because it honored reality, because it acknowledged your actual limits instead of continuing to pretend those limits don't exist. There's a difference between giving up and letting go. You didn't give up on Christmas. You let go of trying to force yourself to be someone you're not. You let go of the performance. You let go of the belief that you have to meet everyone else's expectations, regardless of the cost to yourself. And letting go was right, was necessary, was the only way forward that didn't involve self-destruction. You're not failing at life because you couldn't handle Christmas. You're succeeding at honoring yourself, at recognizing your limits, at choosing survival over performance, at being honest about what you can and cannot do. And that honesty, that brave, difficult, uncomfortable honesty, that's not weakness. That's strength. That's courage. That's the hardest thing you've ever done, and you did it. You actually did it. You honored your truth even when honoring it meant disappointing everyone else. You did the right thing. That's becoming clearer now. Clearer with each breath in this quiet space. Clearer with each moment of relief. Clearer with each recognition that you're okay now, that leaving saved you. That the choice that felt like failure was actually the choice that preserved something essential in you they might not understand. They might be disappointed. They might judge you for leaving. They might think you're weak or ungrateful or incapable. They might not see that staying would have destroyed you. They might not recognize that your leaving was survival, not selfishness, and that's okay. Their understanding is not required for your choice to be right. Their approval is not necessary for your survival to matter. Their disappointment, while uncomfortable, is not more important than your preservation. You did the right thing. It's for you, in that moment. Given what you were experiencing, what you were feeling, what your body was telling you, what your survival required, you made the only choice that honored all of that. You made the choice that saved you. And saving yourself is always right. Always. Even when it disappoints others. Even when it breaks expectations. Even when it doesn't look like strength from the outside. Saving yourself is always, always right. You're starting to feel this. Not just know it intellectually, but feel it. Feel the rightness of your choice settling into your body. Feel the truth of your decision resonating in the quiet. Feel the validation of your own survival, proving that leaving was necessary. You did the right thing. And you're allowed to feel good about that. You're allowed to feel relief without guilt. You're allowed to feel proud of yourself for finally choosing yourself. You were allowed to recognize that what you did was brave and necessary and exactly what needed to happen. The recognition that you did the right thing is here now, growing, strengthening, replacing the guilt with something truer, replacing the shame with something more honest, replacing the fear with something more solid. You did the right thing. You chose yourself. You honored your truth. You survived by leaving, okay? And that choice, that brave and necessary choice, was right. It's right. Will always be right. You did the right thing. Know that. Feel that. Let that recognition heal the guilt, the shame, the fear. Let that truth settle into you. You did the right thing. It's for you, for your survival, for your preservation. You did the right thing. And you're here now, safe, quiet, breathing. Proof that the choice was right. Proof that leaving saved you. Proof that honoring yourself was the only way forward. You did the right thing. Finally, bravely, necessarily, you did the right thing. You and here. In this silence, in this solitude, in this space that's yours alone, you're discovering something. You're discovering that Christmas doesn't have to be what everyone else says it should be. Christmas can be this: quiet, simple, honest, yours. This is your Christmas now. It's not the Christmas you were told to have. It's not the Christmas you were supposed to want, but your Christmas. The Christmas you actually need. The Christmas that honors who you actually are instead of who you're supposed to be. Your Christmas is silent, is solitary, is simple. It's about rest instead of celebration, about truth instead of performance, about honoring yourself instead of meeting expectations. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's perfect. 'Cause Christmas should be about what nurtures you, not about what depletes you. Christmas should serve you, not require you to serve it. Christmas should give you something instead of taking everything from you. Your quiet Christmas is giving you something the loud Christmas never could. Peace. Actual, genuine, embodied peace. The peace of being exactly where you are, about doing exactly what you need to do, about having exactly the Christmas that serves your soul, instead of performing the Christmas that serves everyone else as expectations. There's no tree here, maybe. No decorations. No music. No feast. No presents. No celebration in any traditional sense. Just you. Just quiet. Just this moment of being exactly what you are without needing to be anything more. And this is enough. This quiet is enough. This solitude is enough. This simple existence is enough. This is Christmas. Your Christmas, real Christmas, honest Christmas. The Christmas that's actually happening instead of the Christmas you were supposed to be having. You're redefining Christmas, not for everyone, just for yourself. Not rejecting the holiday completely, just claiming the right to have it in the way that serves you. Just recognizing that Christmas can be quiet, can be still, can be about rest instead of festivity. Your quiet Christmas is sacred. Not sacred in a religious sense necessarily, but sacred in the sense of being exactly what you need, in the sense of honoring your truth, in the sense of being real and honest and true to who you actually are. This is what Christmas was always supposed to be, not performance, not obligation, not exhausting yourself to create magic for others while depleting yourself. But rest, peace, the quiet recognition of what you need, and the brave choice to give yourself that. Your quiet Christmas is a gift, the gift of permission, the gift of self-honoring, the gift of rest, the gift of truth, the gift of finally being allowed to have Christmas in the way that serves you instead of in the way that serves everyone else. And in this quiet Christmas, you're discovering something. You're not alone, not in the sense of having people present, but in the sense of being held by the silence, held by the space, held by the simple truth that you're here, you're alive, you're exactly where you need to be. Your quiet Christmas is teaching you that celebration doesn't have to be loud to be real, that Christmas doesn't have to be crowded to be meaningful, that peace doesn't have to look impressive to be profound. Your quiet Christmas is simple, and simplicity is enough. Your quiet Christmas is honest, and honesty is sacred. Your quiet Christmas is yours, and yours is exactly what it should be. This is your Christmas, quiet, simple, true, yours, and it's perfect. Perfect because it's real. It's perfect because it honors you. It's perfect because it gives you what you need instead of taking what you don't have. The discovery of your own quiet Christmas, here, now, yours, simple, silent, sacred, perfect. Christmas, your Christmas, finally, truly yours. And in this quiet Christmas, in this simple solitude, you're experiencing something revolutionary. You don't need to celebrate, okay? You don't need to participate in festivity, okay? You do and need to feel joy or gratitude or any of the emotions Christmas insists you should feel. You can just be here without celebration, without festivity, without any of the traditional markers of Christmas. And being here without celebrating is enough, is more than enough, is exactly what you need. There's peace in not celebrating, peace in not trying, peace in not forcing yourself to feel what you don't feel. It's peace in letting Christmas be quiet, simple, uncelebrated. Peace in honoring what is instead of performing what should be. You're not missing anything. That's what you're realizing. You're not missing the real Christmas by not celebrating. You're actually experiencing the real Christmas, the Christmas that's honest, okay? That's true to your actual state, that honors your actual needs instead of performing for external expectations. Celebration is optional. That's what no one tells you. Christmas is not celebration. Christmas is just a day. What you do with that day is your choice, okay? And choosing not to celebrate, choosing instead to rest, to be quiet, to honor your exhaustion. That's valid. That's allowed. That's your right. The peace of not needing to celebrate is profound, okay? It's the peace of releasing obligation, the peace of admitting truth, okay? The peace of being exactly what you are without needing to be anything more. You're here, not celebrating, and that's okay. That's more than okay. That's perfect, because being here exactly as you are is more valuable than any celebration that will require you to be someone you're not. It's the peace of not needing to celebrate. Feel it. Rest in it. Let it hold you. Let it validate your choice. Let it confirm that you don't owe anyone celebration, okay? You don't owe anyone festivity. You don't owe anyone joy you don't feel. You're allowed to have a quiet Christmas, an uncelebrated Christmas, okay? Just you, just rest. You're allowed. You've always been allowed, okay? And now you're finally claiming that allowance, the peace of not needing to celebrate. It's here. It's yours. It's the gift of honesty, the gift of truth, the gift of finally being allowed to be exactly what you are, not celebrating, not festive, just here, just quiet, just real. Peace, in not celebrating, in not trying, in not performing, in just being here, quiet, uncelebrated, true, peace. In here, in this rest, something unexpected is happening, something you couldn't manufacture earlier, something that couldn't be forced or performed or produced through willpower. Gratitude is arriving, real gratitude. Not the obligatory Christmas gratitude you were supposed to feel, but actual, genuine, spontaneous gratitude. You're grateful for this quiet, for this space, for this moment of finally being allowed to rest. You're grateful for having left, for having honored yourself, for having chosen survival over performance. You're grateful for your own courage, for your own choice, for your own willingness to finally prioritize yourself. And this gratitude is different from the gratitude you were supposed to feel earlier. That gratitude was obligation, was performance, was trying to manufacture a feeling you didn't have because Christmas demanded it. But this gratitude, spontaneous, natural, arising without effort because there's actually something to be grateful for. You're grateful for your body, for the body that tried so hard to tell you what you needed, for the body that protected you by creating symptoms you couldn't ignore, for the body that's now resting, healing, beginning to restore. You're grateful for your body's wisdom, its persistence, its refusal to let you destroy yourself completely. You're grateful for this night, for the quiet Christmas that you needed more than you needed celebration, for the honest Christmas that's serving you more than performance ever could, for the simple Christmas that's actually giving you something instead of taking everything from you. You're grateful for yourself, for the self that finally listened, for the self that finally chose self-preservation, for the self that finally honored truth instead of maintaining performance. You're grateful for your own growth, your own courage, your own willingness to disappoint others in order to survive. This gratitude isn't about having everything. It's not about circumstances being perfect. It's not about getting what you wanted. This gratitude is about recognizing what actually matters, about seeing clearly what has value, about appreciating what's real instead of what's expected. And this gratitude doesn't negate the difficulty, doesn't erase the struggle, doesn't pretend that everything is fine. You can be grateful for this rest while also acknowledging how hard it was to get here. You can be grateful for your choice while also feeling the weight of having disappointed others. You can be grateful and struggling simultaneously. Gratitude doesn't require everything to be good. Gratitude just requires you to see what is good, to notice what's valuable, to recognize what deserves appreciation. And tonight, there's plenty that deserves appreciation. Your courage, your choice, your honesty, your rest, your healing, your survival. You're grateful, not because someone told you to be, not because Christmas requires it, not because it's the right emotion to have, but because gratitude is naturally arising in response to finally being honored, finally being cared for, finally being given what you need. The gratitude that arrives without being forced. It's here, real, spontaneous, natural. Gratitude for this quiet, this rest, this choice, this survival. While this, you who finally chose yourself. Gratitude, real gratitude, finally. And as you rest, as you breathe, as you allow yourself to simply be here, an understanding is emerging. An understanding that might seem impossible given how hard this Christmas was. It's an understanding that contradicts everything you've been taught about what makes Christmas perfect. This Christmas was perfect. Not perfect in the way Christmas is supposed to be perfect. Not perfect in the sense of meeting expectations or fulfilling traditions or creating magical memories, but perfect in the way that truth is always perfect. Perfect in the way that honoring yourself is always perfect. It's perfect because it was real. This Christmas was exactly what it needed to be. You needed to reach your limit. You needed to break. You needed to finally choose yourself. You needed to discover that rest is more important than celebration. You needed to learn that honoring yourself is more valuable than meeting expectations. Okay? And this Christmas gave you all of that. Okay? This difficult, exhausting, overwhelming Christmas gave you exactly what you needed. The crisis that forced you to finally choose yourself. The breaking point that led to breakthrough. The impossibility that led to change. This Christmas was perfect because it was honest, because it revealed the truth, because it showed you clearly what matters and what doesn't, because it taught you that you can survive disappointing others, because it proved that choosing yourself is possible even when it feels impossible. You wouldn't have chosen this Christmas, okay? If you could have designed your perfect Christmas, it wouldn't have looked like this. You would have chosen ease, celebration, joy, connection, all the things Christmas is supposed to be. But this Christmas, this hard, honest, painful Christmas, this Christmas gave you something more valuable than ease. It gave you truth. It gave you self-knowledge. It gave you the experience of finally choosing yourself. It gave you the beginning of healing. Again, it gave you proof that you can honor yourself even when honoring yourself disappoints everyone else. This Christmas was perfect because it changed you, because it pushed you to grow in a way you couldn't grow without being pushed, because it forced you to finally do what you've needed to do for years. Prioritize yourself. Honor your limits. Choose survival over performance. You're not the same person you were yesterday. Yesterday, you were someone who couldn't leave. Someone who would sacrifice themselves to meet others' expectations. Someone who believed performance was more important than truth. Today, you're someone who can choose themselves. Someone who honors their truth. Someone who knows that survival matters more than performance. And that change, that profound, necessary, healing change, that's what makes this Christmas perfect. It's not perfect in the way you want it, but perfect in the way you need it. Perfect because it gave you exactly what you needed to grow, to heal, to change. This Christmas was your teacher. Harsh teacher, maybe. Difficult teacher, but teacher nonetheless. This Christmas taught you what you needed to learn. Taught you that you matter. Taught your limits are real. That choosing yourself is possible. Taught honoring your truth is more important than maintaining performance. The understanding that this Christmas was perfect. Not the Christmas you wanted. Not the Christmas anyone would choose. But the Christmas you needed. The Christmas that taught you. The Christmas that changed you. The Christmas that was exactly, perfectly what needed to happen for you to finally choose yourself. Perfect in its difficulty, in its honesty, in its truth, in what it taught you, in how it changed you. God, perfect, not despite being hard. God, perfect, because being hard was exactly what you needed to finally break through the patterns that were keeping you trapped. This Christmas was perfect. Your Christmas, hard, honest, real, exactly what you needed. Perfect. And in this quiet understanding, in this acceptance of the perfect imperfection of this Christmas, something deeper is emerging. Something that goes beyond this night, beyond this holiday, beyond any single moment. You're beginning to recognize something fundamental, something that's always been true, even though you could unsee it. You've even always been enough. Not enough in the sense of capable. Not enough in the sense of able to meet every expectation. Not enough in the sense of being able to handle everything without breaking, but enough in the sense of worthy. Enough in the sense of valuable. Enough in the sense of deserving love, care, rest, honoring, regardless of what you can or cannot do. Your worth has never been conditional. It's what you're seeing now. Your worth has never depended on your capacity to celebrate, has never been determined by your ability to meet expectations, has never been contingent on your performance. Your worth has always been inherent, has always been unconditional. It's always just been. You're enough because you exist, because you're alive, because you're here, not because of what you do with existing or being alive or being here. Just because you exist, just because you're alive, just because you're here. That's always been enough. That will always be enough, okay? And this Christmas where you couldn't perform, couldn't celebrate, couldn't meet expectations, this Christmas didn't diminish your worth, okay? Your worth was the same when you were struggling in a celebration as it is now when you were resting in solitude. Your worth doesn't change based on circumstances or capacity or performance. You've been carrying the belief that you need to earn your worth, need to prove your value, need to demonstrate that you deserve care, love, rest, consideration. You've been carrying the exhausting belief that your existence needs to be justified through achievement, through productivity, through being more than you are. But you don't need to earn what you already have. You don't need to prove what's already true. You don't need to demonstrate what's inherent. Your worth is not something you acquire. Your worth is something you are. Always have been, always will be. You're enough. You were enough when you were celebrating and exhausted. You were enough when you were performing and depleted. You were enough when you left. You were enough when you disappointed them. You were enough when you couldn't handle what you thought you should be able to handle. You were enough. You are enough. You will always be enough. This recognition changes everything, guys. If you've always been enough, then you don't need to prove anything, don't need to accomplish anything, don't need to be anything other than what you are to deserve. Care, rest, love, honoring. You can rest without earning rest. You can take care of yourself without justifying self-care. You can honor your limits without proving they're real. You can choose yourself without needing to demonstrate that choosing yourself is acceptable. You're enough, just as you are, in this moment. Tired, limited, imperfect, human, struggling, growing, learning, healing. All of it, all of you. Enough, always enough, forever enough. The recognition that you've always been enough, settling into you, deeper than thought, deeper than belief, settling into the core of you where truth lives, settling into the foundation of your being. You've always been enough. You are enough. You will always be enough, not because of what you do, because of what you are. Human, alive, here, conscious, existing. That's always been enough. That will always be enough. That's all that's ever been required. Existence, being, you. You've always been enough. Know that. Feel that. Let that truth settle into every cell of your being. Let that recognition transform how you see yourself, how you treat yourself, how you honor yourself. You've always been enough. And now, finally, you're beginning to believe it, beginning to feel it, beginning to live as if it's true, because it is true. It's always been true. You've always been enough. Enough. Always. Forever. You. And here, in this recognition of your inherent enoughness, in this acceptance of yourself exactly as you are, the night itself is revealing its nature. This quiet night, this simple night, this honest night. This night is sacred. Not sacred because it's Christmas. It's not sacred because of any religious significance. Not sacred because of tradition or ritual or collective agreement. But sacred because of what's happening here. Sacred because you're being real. Sacred because you're honoring yourself. So sacred because truth is being lived instead of performance being maintained. Sacred means set apart, means different, means special, not in the way the world defines special, but in the way that matters actually defines special. And this night is set apart, is different, special because here, in this quiet, you're experiencing something rare, something precious, something that most people never allow themselves to experience. Complete honesty. You're not pretending, not performing. not trying to be anything other than what you are. You're just here, real, true, honest, and honesty is sacred. Truth is sacred. Being real is sacred. More sacred than any religious ritual. More sacred than any traditional celebration. More sacred than any performed spirituality. This is what holy actually means. Whole, complete, integrated, all parts present, no parts hidden, nothing performed, tended, just wholeness. Just being fully yourself without division, without hiding, without the fragmentation that performance requires. You're whole tonight, more whole than you've been in a long time, because all parts of you are allowed. The tired part, the disappointed part, the relieved part, the grateful part, the part that chose yourself, the part that feels guilty. All of it, all of you, here, allowed, integrated, whole, holy. This quiet night is sacred because it's holding all of you, because it's allowing all of you. Because here, in this space, there's room for everything you are. Nothing needs to be hidden. Nothing needs to be performed. Nothing needs to be anything other than what it is. The sacredness is in the simplicity, in the honesty, in the quiet allowing of what is. The sacredness is in your breath, in your rest, in your presence, in your willingness to be exactly what you are, without apology, without justification, without needing to make yourself more or different or better. This is church, not a building, not an institution, not a gathering, but this moment of being completely, honestly, wholly yourself. This is where the sacred lives, in truth, in honesty, in the quiet space where you're allowed to be exactly what you are. You're experiencing the sacred right now, not because you're doing anything sacred, okay? But because you're being something sacred. You're being real. You're being whole. You're being fully present with yourself. And that complete self-presence, that total honesty, that full integration, that's what sacred actually is. This quiet night is your cathedral. This rest is your prayer. This honesty is your worship. This self-honoring is your spiritual practice. This is what matters. This is what's real. This is what connects you to something larger than yourself, not by pretending to be more than you are, but by being fully what you are. The sacredness of your quiet night. Feel it, not as belief, but as experience. It's the lived reality of being completely, honestly, wholly yourself. As the profound peace that comes from integration. As the deep rest that comes from not having to hide any part of yourself. Sacred. This night, this quiet, this rest, this honesty. This you being fully you. Sacred, not because of external designation, but because of internal reality. Sacred, because truth is always sacred. Honesty is always sacred. Being real is always sacred. The sacredness of your quiet night, here now, holding you, allowing you, honoring you. Sacred space, sacred time, sacred being. You, real, true, whole, sacred. And in this sacred quiet, in this holy honesty, you're becoming aware of something that's been here all along. Something you couldn't feel when you were performing. Something you couldn't access when you were in crisis. Something that's been present, but invisible until now. Love, not human love. Not personal love, but love as the fundamental nature of reality. Love as what holds you. Love as what you are. This love doesn't come from anywhere, doesn't come from anyone. This love just is. Has always been, will always be. This love is the ground of existence, the substance of reality, the nature of what is. You're held by love, always have been, always will be. Even when you can't feel it, even when you're struggling, even when you're exhausted, even when you're alone, even when you're disappointing everyone. Even then, love is holding you. Love is being you. Love is surrounding you. This love doesn't require anything from you. It doesn't need you to be good enough, doesn't need you to perform, doesn't need you to celebrate or be grateful or feel anything in particular. This love just loves, unconditionally, completely, without requirement. You're experiencing this love now, not as emotion necessarily, but as the felt sense of being held, of being allowed, of being exactly what you are, and that being okay. More than okay. That being everything. That being enough. Okay. That being perfect. Okay. This love is what's been missing from your understanding of Christmas. Okay. Christmas talks about love, but then makes love conditional on celebration, on joy, on gratitude, on performance. Christmas says love, but means obligation. Says love, but means expectation. Says love, but means you need to earn it by being festive enough. But real love, the love that's actually present, that's actually holding you, real love doesn't have conditions. Real love doesn't require performance. Real love just is, just loves, just allows everything to be exactly what it is. It's in your part of this love, not separate from it. It's not receiving it from outside, but part of it, made of it, an expression of it. Love, loving itself. Love, experiencing itself. Love, being itself through you. This is what you are, not your struggles, not your limitations, not your exhaustion. Those are experiences you're having, but what you are at your most fundamental level, underneath everything else, what you are is love. Consciousness that's aware, awareness that's loving, love that's experiencing itself, okay? And this love has been with you all along, through all the Christmases, through all the exhaustion, through all the performance, through all the struggling, through everything. Love has been here. Love has been you. Love has been holding you, even when you couldn't feel it. You're never alone, not because someone is with you, but because you're made of connection itself. You're made of love itself. You're the universe experiencing itself. Consciousness, being aware of consciousness. Love, loving itself. You're never separate. You're never isolated. You're always part of everything. Always connected. Always held. This love doesn't fix your problems. Doesn't make your exhaustion disappear. Doesn't change your circumstances. But this love changes how you experience everything. Because when you know you're held by love, when you know you're made of love, when you know you are love, everything is different. Everything is bearable. Everything is okay, even when it's not okay. The love that's been present all along. Feel it. It's not as emotion, but as the ground beneath you. It's the space around you, as the substance of your being. As what you are. It's what's always been here. It's what will always be here. Love. Always love. Only love. Everything love. You're loved. Not by someone, but by existence itself. By reality. By the fundamental nature of what is. So you're loved because love is what you are. What everything is. What's always been. What always will be. The love that's been present all along. Here, now, always, holding you, being you, loving you, love, always, love, forever love, you, love, here and now, in this love, in this sacredness, in this complete acceptance of what is, you re-arriving at a wisdom that's been emerging throughout this night. It's been emerging, but about being, a wisdom that comes not from thinking, but from experiencing. The wisdom of simply being here. The wisdom of honoring truth. The wisdom of choosing yourself. This Christmas has taught you something essential. Something you couldn't have learned any other way. Something that required breaking, choosing, leaving, resting. Kiss. This Christmas has taught you that honoring yourself is not selfish. That rest is not weakness. Kiss. That choosing survival over performance is not failure. This Christmas has taught you that you have limits, and limits are real, and honoring limits is wise. That you have needs, and needs matter. And meeting needs is necessary, that you have truth, and truth deserves to be honored, even when honoring it disappoints others. This is wisdom, not the wisdom of books or teachings or external knowledge, but the wisdom of lived experience, the wisdom of having been pushed to your edge and finally choosing yourself. The wisdom of having broken and survived breaking. The wisdom of having honored yourself for the first time in a long time, maybe ever. And this wisdom changes you, changes how you see yourself, changes how you treat yourself, changes what you're willing to tolerate and what you're no longer willing to accept, changes your relationship with obligation, with expectation, with the belief that you need to sacrifice yourself to be worthy of love. You're wiser now than you were yesterday. Wiser because you know yourself better. Wiser because you've honored yourself. Wiser because you've learned that choosing yourself is possible, even when it feels impossible. Wiser because you've experienced what happens when you finally prioritize your survival. This wisdom will serve you, will guide you, will help you make future choices that honor you instead of depleting you, will remind you that you're allowed to have limits, to honor boundaries, to choose yourself. So will be there when you need to remember that rest is not weakness and honoring yourself is not selfish. The wisdom of this quiet arrival. You've arrived somewhere, not geographically, but internally. You've arrived at a new understanding of yourself, a new relationship with yourself, a new capacity to choose yourself, a new recognition of your worth, your limits, your truth. You've arrived at the quiet place, Not by going somewhere, but by finally being here, By finally being present with yourself, by finally honoring yourself, By finally allowing yourself to rest. You've arrived by stopping, by choosing, By being real. This is wisdom, the wisdom of arrival through stopping, The wisdom of finding yourself by finally being yourself. The wisdom of rest, the wisdom of honesty, the wisdom of choosing survival, the wisdom of self-honoring. You're here now, in the quiet place, the place your soul has been seeking, not somewhere else, not in the future, but here, now, in yourself, in honesty, in rest, in truth, in love, in the quiet recognition that you're enough. You've always been enough, And you're finally allowing yourself to rest in that enoughness. The wisdom of this quiet arrival, it's yours. Earned through difficulty, learned through experience, gained through choosing yourself. Wisdom, real wisdom, the wisdom of being, the wisdom of honoring. It's the wisdom of arriving here, finally here, in the quiet place that has always been waiting for you to stop running long enough to find it. Wisdom, quiet wisdom, deep wisdom. The wisdom of this night's rest, this arrival, yours, finally, here. And so you've arrived, not at a destination, but at a recognition. You've come home, not to a place, but to yourself. To the quiet place that's always been here, to the rest that's always been available, to the peace that's always been waiting for you to stop performing long enough to receive it. This is your silent night. Not the silent night of the carol, not the holy night of tradition, but your silent night, the night when everything finally went quiet, when you finally stopped, when you finally allowed yourself to rest, when you finally came home to yourself. Home is not somewhere you've been trying to reach. Home is what you are. Home is being present with yourself. Home is accepting yourself. Home is honoring yourself. Home is here. It's always been here. Has always been you. You just couldn't see it, couldn't feel it, couldn't access it because you were too busy performing, too busy trying to be someone else, too busy meeting everyone else's needs while ignoring your own. But now you're home, finally home, in yourself, in truth, in rest. Can the quiet recognition that this, exactly you, exactly here, this is home. This has always been home. You just had to stop running long enough to arrive. Your silent night is not empty. Your silent night is full, full of presence, full of truth, full of love, full of the profound recognition that you're enough, you're held, you're exactly where you need to be, full of the peace that comes from finally being honest, from finally choosing yourself, from finally arriving home. This is what Christmas has always been about, underneath all the noise, underneath all the expectations, underneath all the performance. Christmas has always been about coming home, about finding peace, about being present with what matters, about love, about rest, about the quiet recognition that we're enough, we're held, we're home. But you couldn't access that Christmas through celebration. You could only access it through honesty, through struggle, through breaking, through choosing yourself, through leaving the loud Christmas to find your silent night. And now you're here. It's in your silent night, in your true Christmas, in the quiet place where your soul can finally rest, your body can finally heal, where your heart can finally soften, where you can finally just be, without performing, without proving, without needing to be anything other than what you are. This is home, this silent night, this quiet rest, this honest presence. This is what you've been seeking all along. It's not in celebration, not in performance, but in truth, in rest, in the quiet place within yourself where you've always been welcome, always been loved, always been enough. Welcome home. Welcome to your silent night. Welcome to the quiet Christmas that's always been waiting for you. Welcome to yourself. Welcome to rest. Welcome to peace. Welcome to love. Welcome to the recognition that you're enough. You've always been enough, and you're finally home. Your silent night. Sacred, simple, true, quiet, restful, peaceful. Home. Finally home. In yourself. In truth. In the quiet place that's always been here. That's always been you. That's always been home. Rest here. Stay here. Be here. In your silent night. Teen, your true Christmas. In the quiet place where you're finally allowed to rest. Where you're finally home. Silent night. Your night. Sacred night. True night. The night when you finally came home to yourself. When you finally found the peace you've been seeking. When you finally arrived at the quiet place that's always been here. That's always been you. That's always been home. Holy night. Not because of tradition, but because of truth. Because of honesty. Because of you finally being real. Finally being here. Finally being home. All is calm. Not because circumstances are calm, but because you're calm. Because you're at peace with yourself. Because you're finally resting in truth instead of performing in falsehood. All is calm because you're finally home. All is bright, not with lights, but with clarity, with truth, with the light of recognition that you're enough, you're loved, you're home. All is bright with the inner light that's been waiting for you to stop running long enough to notice it. All is bright because you're finally seeing clearly, finally seeing yourself, finally seeing home. Holy night, your night, true night, sacred night, the night you came home to yourself, the night you found the quiet place, the night you finally rested, the night everything changed because you finally chose yourself. Sleep in heavenly peace, not because heaven is somewhere else, but because peace is here. Peace is you. Peace is what you're experiencing right now in this silent night, in this quiet rest, in this honest presence with yourself. Silent night. Sleep in heavenly peace. You're sleeping in peace. Real peace. Deep peace. The peace that comes from finally being home. Finally being honest. Finally being yourself. Sleep. Rest. Be at peace in your silent night. In your true Christmas. In the quiet place that's always been home. Silent night. Holy night. Yours, forever yours. This quiet, this rest, this peace, this home. Yours, finally. completely, eternally, home. Rest now. Rest in your silent night. Rest in the peace that's always been here. Rest in the love that's always held you. Rest in the truth that you're enough. Rest in the recognition that you're home. Silent night, your night, sacred night, true night, the night you finally came home. The night peace arrived, the night love was recognized, the night you finally rested. Rest, peace, love, home, here, now, forever. You, silent night, holy night, yours, always, yours, forever, yours, home. Asterisk, and in a profound silence that follows, there's nothing more that needs to be said. No more words needed. No more understanding required. Just this, you're home. You've always been home. You just needed a silent night to recognize it. Rest here, stay here, be here. You're home. You're enough. You're loved. You're at peace. Finally, completely, eternally, home. In your silent night, in your true Christmas, in the quiet place that's always been you. Rest, peace, love, home, forever now. Here, you, silent night, holy night, yours, home, silent night.